Okay,
Okay,
everyone.
everyone.
Good,
Good,
lovely
lovely
morning.
morning.
We
We
want to
want to
appreciate
appreciate
everyone
everyone
for
for
coming
coming
here
here
today.
today.
So
So
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
begin the
begin the
class.
class.
Okay.
Hey,
Good,
good,
lovely
lovely
morning
morning
to
to
everyone.
everyone.
I want
I
to
want to
appreciate you
appreciate
all
you
for
all for
coming here
coming here
today.
today.
It's
It's
the
the
24th
24th
of
of
May,
May,
2026,
2026,
and
and
this is
this
the
is the
first
first
day
day
of
of
the
the
3 day
3-day
session
session
class
class
for
for
our
our
3D
3D
printing
printing
course.
course.
I'll
I'll
try to
try to
make it
make it
as
as
simple
simple
and
and
easy
easy
to
to
follow and
follow and
understand for
understand for
everyone.
everyone.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
uh, my
my
name
name
is
is
all right,
or
everyone. My
my
name
name
is
is
Wilfred
Wilfred
Onodo,
Onodo,
and I
and
am
I am
a
a
mechanical
mechanical
and
and
electrical
electrical
engineering
engineering
graduate.
graduate.
Uh,
Uh,
this is the
this is the
first
first
session of
session
our
of our
3D
3D
course,
course,
and I'm
and I'm
currently
currently
working as
working as
an
an
architectural
architectural
drafter,
drafter
where
where
I
I
work
work
with
with
building
building
systems
systems
and
and
fabrication
fabrication
layouts
layouts
and
and
digital
digital
modeling
modeling
software
software
used
used
in
in
real
real
construction
construction
and
and
manufacturing.
manufacturing.
So
So
a lot
a
of
lot
what
of
I
what I
do
do
involves
involves
hold up.
okay. So apologies for that. Hmm. Keep safe. Ah, come on. Okay,
Apologies
apologies
for the
for the
break in
break
the
in the
transmission.
transmission.
As I
As
was
I was
saying,
saying,
I
I
currently
currently
work with
work
a
with a
lot
lot
of
of
digital
digital
models
models
that are
that are
used
used
in
in
real
real
physical
physical
and
and
real
real
world
world
designs and
designs and
construction.
construction.
Um,
Um,
it's
it's
not
not
very
very
complicated, so
complicated,
I'll
so I'll
try and
try and
make it
make it
as
as
easy to
easy to
understand
understand
as
as
for
for
everyone.
everyone.
So
So
what I'm
what
going
I'm
to be
going to be
showing
showing
today
today
throughout
throughout
this
this
course
course
for
for
day
day
one
one
is
is
the
the
real-time
real-time
process
process
used
used
in
in
real
real
engineering
engineering
and
and
fabrication.
fabrication.
The
The
goal
goal
is
is
not
not
just to
just to
create
create
something
something but
that
that
looks good
looks
on
good on
screen,
screen,
but
but
it's to
it's to
create
create
something that
something that
actually
actually
exists
exists
and
and
that can
that can
function
function
in
in
real
real
life
life
use.
use.
That's the
That's the
whole
whole
point
point
of
of
today.
today.
And
And
I
I
hope that
hope
you
that
all
you
can
all can
follow me
follow me
because
because
it's
it's I will try my best to make it as easy as possible to follow and understand. I'm gonna give you a brief intro of what the 3-day course is gonna incorporate.
Apologies for the audio.
Okay, so apologies for the audio issue. As I was saying earlier, my name is Wilfred Onogo, and I'm a mechanical and mic check.
Apologies again. Just having some audio issues. Should be fixed now. So as I was saying, my name is Wilfred Onogo, and I'm a mechanical and electrical engineering graduate. I currently work as a 3D BIM specialist, where I use real fabrication layouts and digital modeling softwares to create real-time materials used in construction and manufacturing. So a lot of what I do involves creating digital models that are designed to become real objects. It's not very complicated, so I will try my best to make it as easy as I can. We're going to be using two softwares. One is Tinkercad and the other is Inventor. So Tinkercad is more of a basic software for beginners or those who are getting into 3D modeling and digital fabrication. While Inventor is more of a mechanical software used for high-level production and more accurate and detailed designs. It's very in-depth. So today we'll be using Tinkercad because I want to get you into the basics first before we advance from there. So I'll be taking you all through what we're going to be covering through this 3-day course. So before we begin, I'm just going to quickly explain how the full course is structured for the 3 days. So for day one today, which is today, you will learn basically the foundation. You will learn what 3D printing is, how it works, how to create beginner level objects using Tinkercad, understanding basic shapes, and by the end of today, we're going to make an actual keychain with all the steps that you've learned, and we'll 3D print it and see the physical object. For day two, we'll be using a more advanced software, which is Inventor Autodesk. We're going to build a small model showing how, with multiple parts, showing how it comes together in an assembly. So it's easier. In most construction done in the modern age, it's all fabricated. Like what I mean is, each section of the building or each section of the house is built separately in a factory. Then you ship it to the site, and it's all assembled on site. So all parts are already pre-made or prefabricated. That's what it means. That's what it means to fabricate a part. It means to build the parts and then the single part, and then you assemble all of it together on site. We'll also understand the multi-part assembly, like I said, snap fits design logic, where you don't usually need screws or glues or adhesive to stick or keep your parts together. You
you
create
create
parts
parts
or
or
whole
whole
products
products
in
in
each
each
of
of
these
these
parts to
parts to
make
make
them
them
join and
join and
combine with
combine with
themselves.
themselves.
And then
And then
for
for
day
day
three,
three,
that's
that's
when
when
we'll
we'll
go
go
into
into
the
the
actual
actual
printing
printing
process.
process.
Printing
Printing
materials.
materials.
We'll
We'll
talk
talk
about
about
print
print
failures. We'll
failures.
talk
We'll talk
about the
about the
cost of
cost of
printing,
printing,
how
how
to
to
turn
turn
these
these
skills
skills
into
into
products or
products or
businesses.
businesses.
We'll
We'll
try
try
and
and
link
link
the
the
economic
economic
aspects
aspects to the
to the
to the
fabrication
fabrication
aspect
aspect
of
of
drafting
drafting
of
of
3D
3D
printing.
printing.
So
So
that's
that's
the
the
major
major
plan or
plan
the
or the
major
major
idea
idea
that we
that we
have so
have so
far.
far. We're
We're just
just
gonna
gonna
get
get
into it
into it
and
and
talk
talk
about
about
what
what
3D
3D
printing
printing
is.
is.
So,
So,
what
what
is
is
3D
3D
printing? I
printing?
know
I know
it's
it's
a lot
a
of
lot of
people
people
already
already
have
have
some
some
inkling
inkling
or
or
maybe
maybe
some
some
understanding of
understanding of
what
what
3D
3D
printing is,
printing is,
but
but
there are
there are
still a lot
still a
of
lot of
people
people
who
who
don't
don't
fully
fully
understand what
understand
it's
what it's
all
all
about.
about.
And I'm
And
going
I'm
to
going
give
to
a
give a
simple
simple
explanation.
explanation.
So,
So,
when I
when I
say
say
3D
3D
printing, it's
printing,
a
it's a
way
way
of
of
creating
creating
objects
objects
layers
layers
by
by
layer.
layer.
It
It
means
means
you
that you
print
print
one
one
layer
layer
from
from
one
one
step
step
to
to
next
next
step
step
to the
to
next
next
step,
step,
just like
just like
that.
that.
So
So
think
think
of it
of it
like
like
stacking
stacking
very
very
thin
thin
layers
layers
on
on
top of
top of
each
each
other
other
until
until
the
until the
whole
whole
object is
object is
formed.
formed.
So
So
that's
that's
what
what
that's
that's
actually what
actually
it
what it
means
means
for
for
3D
3D
printing. And
printing. And
I'll
I'll
just
just
show
show
you
you
some
some
examples
examples
of
of
layer
layer
by
by
layer
layer
3D
3D
printing.
printing.
So
So
we
we
can
can
check
check
this, and
this, and
now
now
you can
you can
observe
observe
right
right
here.
here.
Just
Just
trying to
trying to
show you
show
what
you
it
what it
means to
means to
print
print
layer
layer
by
by
layer.
layer.
It's
It's
not
not
very
very
complicated.
complicated,
So
so
it
it
looks
looks
something
something
like
like
this.
this.
So
So
it
it
prints the
prints the
first
first
layer
layer
and
and
then
then
onto the
onto the
next
next
one
one
and
and
then to
then
the
to the
next
next
until the
until the
whole
whole
object
object
is
is
actually
actually
complete.
complete. It
It doesn't
doesn't
stop
stop
until the
until the
object
object
is
is
complete.
complete.
So
So
that's
that's
what it
what it
means
means
to
to
3D
3D
print.
print.
So
So
we'll
we'll
go
go
up
up
to
to
our
our
next
next
topic,
topic,
which is
which is
understanding what
understanding
it
what it
means
means
when I
when I
say
say
layer
layer
by
by
layer.
layer.
When I
When I
mean
mean
layer by
layer by
layer, you
layer,
have
you
to
have to
think of
think
it
of it
as
as
very
very
thin
thin
pieces.
pieces.
It's
It's
very
very
small.
small.
Something
Something
it's not
it's not
easy
easy for
for the
the
eyes
eyes
to
to
even
even
calculate how
calculate how
tiny it
tiny it
is.
is.
Maybe
Maybe
millimeters.
millimeters. That's
That's what it
what it
means to
means to
print
print
layer by
layer by
layer.
layer.
Uh,
Uh,
so
so
instead of
instead of
ink
ink
coming
coming
from the
from the
printer,
printer,
like
like
think of a
think of a
normal
normal
printer. A
printer. A
normal
normal
printer
printer
prints
prints
out
out
with
with
usual
usual
black
black
ink,
ink,
but
but
3D
3D
printer
printer
uses
uses
melted
melted
plastic.
plastic.
Think of the
Think of the
plastic
plastic
like the
like the
ink
ink
which
which
comes
comes
out of the
out of the
printer.
printer.
So the
So the
printer
printer
follows the
follows the
instruction
instruction
from a
from a
digital
digital
file
file
and
and
builds the
builds the
object
object
slowly
slowly
from the
from the
bottom
bottom
to the
to the
top.
top.
If you
If
can
you can
see, it
see, it
starts from
starts
the
from the
bottom
bottom
and
and
goes
goes
all the
all the
way
way
to the
to the
top. So
top.
you
So
see
you
the
see the
first
first
layer,
layer,
the
the
second
second
layer, the
layer, the
third,
third,
and
and
then
then
the
the
final
final
object
object
right
right
here.
here.
So
So
that's what
that's
it
what it
means
means
to
to
print
print layer by
layer by
layer by
layer.
layer.
So now
So
we'll
now
be
we'll be
talking
talking
about
about
the
the
various
various
parts
parts
of a
of a
printer.
printer.
This
This
might
might
be
be
a
a
little bit
little bit
complicated, but
complicated, but
I'll
I'll
try
try
and
and
keep the
keep the
explanations
explanations
as
as
simple and
simple and
easy
easy
as
as
possible.
possible.
So
So
first of
first
all,
of all,
we do
we do
have the
have the
frame.
frame.
The
The
frame
frame
it's what
it's
we
what we
call
call
the
the
structural
structural
support.
support.
frame is also known as the structural support that keeps the machine stable and reduces shaking during movement. And then we also have the Z axis, and the X axis and the Y axis. This simply means, so when I talk about the X axis, when I talk about X, Y, or Z axis, think of it as motion, movements, or positioning. That's how the 3D printer moves. So the X axis, this part moves the printer's head left and right. So that's what we're talking about here. So it moves the printer left and right. And the X, the Y axis moves the printer forward and backward. Just think of it that the X axis is left and right, and the Y axis is forward and backwards. And then for the Z axis, it's usually up and down. So the Z axis controls the movements of the 3D printer as it's printing upwards and downwards. After each layer is finished, the printer slightly moves upwards so it can print the next layer on top. So the next we have the filament spool, which is this tiny object right here. The filament spool is actually a big roll of plastic the printer uses to make the object. You can think of it like the printer's ink supply. The printer works, as the printer works, the plastic slowly unrolls from the spool and it feeds into the machine where it melts and creates your object. Now the next object we have here is the filament guide tube, which is this tiny white tube that you see right here. This is where the actual plastic or the filament goes through and gets melted. So the tube head helps guide the plastic smoothly from the spool to the printer head. Without it, the filament could bend, could tangle, or could get stuck while printing. So that's why it's very important. It's a very important component in the 3D printer. Then we have the extruder assembly, which comprises of the gear and the model, as well as the coolants and the heating of the plastic. So the extruder is the part that grabs the filament and pushes it forward. It works like a set of power gears pulling the plastic into a hot section of the printer at the correct speed. So it works like a gear that pulls the plastic through the tube into the extruder, where it gets melted to make your object. You can also call this the heating block. It's also part of the extruder assembly components. This is the hot metal part where the plastic melts, the filament goes from solid into semi-liquid, or something almost like hot glue. Very. It's not fully solid, but as soon as it comes out, the rapid drop in temperature causes it to cool down and create the object. So now we have the nozzle, which is also part of the extruder assembly. The nozzle is the tiny opening. It's the tiny opening right here where your plastic layer comes out to. So it slowly comes out and builds the object from the nozzle. I can show you a much more detailed picture of this. This would be something right here. If you can observe it, you can see the nozzle right here. This is the current printer that I am using. It's the A1 series. As you can see the nozzle a bit from the side. So the printer that extrudes, you can see the green filament I'm using right now going through the tube guide, and it's going to be melted at the bottom here to make all of these these
parts that I'm going to assemble later. So next we can talk about
the
the
heated
heated
bed.
bed.
So when
So
I
when I
say
say
the
the
heated
heated
bed,
bed,
I
I
simply
simply
mean
mean
this, the
the
base,
base,
that's the
that's the
base
base
of the
of the
printer
printer
where
where
the
the
object is
object is
going to
going
be
to be
printed
printed
on.
on.
The
The
bed
bed
actually
actually
changes
changes
temperature,
temperature,
which
which
makes it
makes it
easier
easier
to
to
print
print
and
and
melt
melt
the
the
material.
material.
Also
Also
makes it
makes it
easier to
easier to
take
take
off
off
the
the
material when
material
it's
when it's
done.
done.
So
So
the
the
bed is
bed
the
is the
flat
flat
surface
surface
where the
where the
object is
object is
printed
printed
on.
on.
If
If
it
it
heats
heats
up
up
the
the
plastic,
plastic,
it
it
sticks
sticks
properly
properly
and does
and
not
does not
lift
lift
up
up
or
or
warp
warp
while
while
printing.
printing.
So
So
if it
if it
heats
heats
up
up
properly,
properly,
that
that
if
if
the
the
temperature is
temperature is
set
set
to the
to the
correct
correct
degree,
degree,
it
it
sticks
sticks
and
and
makes
makes
the
the
object
object
adhesive
adhesive
to the
to the
base,
base
because
because
there's a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of
volume
volume
shaking
shaking
and
and
movement from
movement
the
from the
printer.
printer.
So
So
because of
because
the
of the
heat
heat
at the
at the
bottom of the
bottom of the
base, it
base, it
ensures
ensures
that
that
your
your
material
material
always
always
stays
stays
still and
still
in
and
the
in the
correct
correct
position,
position
because
because
the
the
3D
3D
printer
printer
works with
works with
exact
exact
positioning. It
positioning. It
works with
works with
exact
exact
dimensions and
dimensions and
exact
exact
point of
point of
reference.
reference.
So
So
if
if
your
your
object
object
is
is
moving
moving
while the
while the
printer
printer
is
is
working,
working,
you're going to
you're
have
gonna
a
have a
bad
bad
print. It's
print.
going
It's
to
gonna
make it a
make it a
bit
bit
difficult
difficult
for you
for
to
you to
get
get
the
the
actual
actual
object
object
that you
that you
want.
want.
That's
That's
why
why
the
the
heat
heat
bed
bed
is
is
very,
very,
very
very
important.
important.
We're
Another,
going to
we're
talk
going to talk
about
about
the
the
touch
touch
screen
screen
interface,
interface,
which is
which is
this. It's
this is
basically how
basically
you
how you control
the
the
printer.
printer.
Most
Most
modern
modern
printers
printers
come
come
with
with
their
their
own
own
softwares where
softwares
you
where
can
you can
control it
control it
from your
from your
PC
PC
directly
directly
or
or
directly
directly
from
from
your
your
phone.
phone.
So
So
also
also
talking
talking
about
about
the
the
SD
SD
card.
card.
Like I
Like I
said,
said,
most
most
modern
modern
printers,
printers,
all
all
printers will
printers will
definitely
definitely
come with
come
an
with an
SD
SD
card
card
because
because
it's
it's
the
the
manual
manual
way
way
of
of
getting your
getting your
prints
prints
done.
done.
So
So
by the
by the
time you're
time you're
done with the
done with the
design
design
phase and
phase
you're
and you're
ready to
ready to
make the
make the
physical
physical
object,
object,
you
you
put it
put it
in the
in the
SD
SD
card,
card,
and then
and
you
then
have
you
it
have it
print
print
for you.
for you.
But
But
most
most
time
time
or
or
recently,
recently,
you
you
can
can
send
send
any
any
file you
file you
need
need
directly
directly
from your
from your
computer
computer
into the
into the
3D
3D
printer or
printer or
directly
directly
from your
from your
phone
phone
into the
into the
3D
3D
printer
printer
if you're
if you're
using
using
Bamboo
Bamboo
Labs,
Labs
because it
because it
comes with
comes with
its
its
own
own
pre-installed
pre-installed
software
software
which
which
lets
lets
you
you
control
control
these
these
functions
functions
much
much
more
more
easier,
easily
because
because
it
it
might be
might be
more
more
complicated
complicated
having
having
to
to
take
take
out
out
an
an
SD
SD
card
card
and
and
slot it
slot it
in
in
every
every
time you
time you
want to
want to
make a
make a
print.
print.
So
So
with
with
this,
this,
it's
it's
much more
much more
easier.
easier.
So next we'll
Next we'll
talk
talk
about
about
the
the
main
main
control
control
box,
box,
which is
which is
the
the
power
power
supply,
supply,
basically
basically
the
the
power
power
supply of the
supply of the
printer.
printer.
It's where
It's
you're
where
going
you're
to
going to
plug in your
plug in your
printer and
printer
get
and
it to
get it to
start
start
working.
working.
And then
Then
next
next
we'll
we
have
have
I
I
believe that
believe that
should
should
be
be
the
the
most
most
important
important
parts of
parts
the
of the
printer, or the
printer, or the
parts I
parts I
believe
believe
that
that
you
you
should
should
learn
learn
or you
or you
should
should
understand, which
understand,
is
which is
the
the
filament
filament
spool,
spool,
which is
which is the
where
where
the
the
rolls of
rolls
the
of the
plastic.
plastic.
Then we
Then we
have the
have the
guide
guide
tube
tube
that
that
feeds
feeds
and
and
guides the
guides the
plastic
plastic
into the
into the
extruder
extruder
assembly.
assembly.
This is
This is
where it
where it
melts
melts
the
the
plastic
plastic
material,
material,
and then
and
the
then the
nozzle,
nozzle,
and
and
which
which
extrudes or
extrudes or
which
which
brings
brings
out
out
the
the
object or
object or
melted
melted
plastic to
plastic to
form the
form the
object
object
that you
that you
want.
want.
And then
And
we
then we
have the
have the
heated
heated
bed,
bed,
also
also
known as
known
the
as the
base.
base.
This is
This is
where
where
your
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 object is
object is
printed
printed
on.
on.
We
We
also
also
have
have
the
the
we
we
also have
also
the
have the
touchscreen
touchscreen
interface, which
interface,
is
which
how
is
you
how you
control
control
the
the
3D
3D
printer and the
printing, the
functions of
function
the
of the
3D
3D
printer.
printer.
And
And
then I
then I
believe
believe
we
we
also
also
have the
have the
SD
SD
card as
card as
well,
well,
which is
which is
also
almost
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 self-explanatory,
self-explanatory,
which where
which
you
where you
store
store
your
your
objects
objects
to
to
make sure that it's printed properly. So I really do hope that with this you can mostly understand how or the major components of a 3D printer. So next we're going to talk about real world uses of a 3D
3D
printer.
print.
And
And
if you
if
look
you
at
look at
this, you
this,
can
you can
see
see
3D
3D
printing
printing
is
is
used
used
in
in
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
a lot of a lot
a
of
lot of
aspects in
aspects
our
in our
society.
society.
It's
It's
used in
used in
engineering,
engineering,
it's
it's
used
used
in
in
medicine,
medicine,
it's
it's
used in
used in
construction,
construction,
it's used
it's
in
used in
architecture,
architecture,
manufacturing,
manufacturing,
and
and
product
product
designs.
designs.
There's a
There's
lot
a
of
lot of
uses
uses
for it. You
for
can
you
see
can say
medical
medical
prosthetic,
prosthetic,
an
an
architectural
architectural
building
building
that
that
seems
seems
nearly
nearly
very
very
difficult
difficult
to
to
comprehend. But
comprehend, but
with
with
3D
3D
modeling
modeling
and
and
3D
3D
printing,
printing,
you can
you can
have
have
this
this
print
print
printed
printed
in
in
actual
actual
scaled
scaled
dimensions, so
dimensions,
you
so
can
you can
observe
observe
and
and
check
check
for
for
yourself
yourself
if
if
all the
all the
dimensions are
dimensions are
correct, if
correct, if
all the
all the
parts
parts
goes
goes
where
where
it's
it's
supposed to
supposed to
go.
go.
Engineering
Engineering
prototype.
prototype.
So
So
engineering
engineering
prototype
prototype
simply
simply
means when
means
you're
when you're
testing out
testing out
a
a
building, or
building,
you're
or you're
testing out
testing out
a
a
new
new
machine,
machine,
testing out
testing out
a
a
new
new
products.
products.
You don't
You
want
don't want
to
to
immediately
immediately
jump
jump
into
into
production.
production.
You
You
have to
have to
make a
make a
prototype. You
prototype.
have
You
to
have to
make
make
a
a
test
test
first, and
first, and
that's
that's
what
what
3D
3D
printing is
printing is
mainly
mainly
used
used
for. It's
for. It's
mainly
mainly
used
used
to
to
create
create
prototypes for
prototypes for
test.
test.
We
We
also
also
have
have
phone
phone
accessories
accessories
like
like
phone
phone
stands.
stands.
We
We
also
also
have
have
a
a
car
car
full
full
stand. We
stand. We
also have
also have
a
a
table
table
organizer.
organizer.
We
We
also
also
have
have
things
things
like
like
keychains,
keychains,
which
which
we
we
will
will
try to
try to
make
make
today,
today,
as
as
well
well
as
as
custom
custom
tools.
tools.
3D
3D
printing is
printing is
also
also
mostly
mostly
used
used
for
for
custom
custom
tools. When
tools.
I
When I
say
say
custom
custom
tools, it
tools, it
means
means
if
if
something
something
breaks,
breaks,
you
you
can
can
you can
you can
easily
easily
redesign
redesign
it,
it,
or you
or you
can
can
easily
easily
replace it
replace it
yourself.
yourself.
So you
So
don't
you
need
don't need
to.
to.
Most of
Most
these
of these
custom
custom
tools
tools
don't
don't
exist in
exist in
stores,
stores,
so
so
it'll be
it'll be
easier for
easier
you
for you
to
to
design
design
and
and
make it
make it
yourself.
yourself.
That's what
That's
we
what we
mean
mean
by
by
custom
custom
tools.
tools.
So
So
next,
next,
we're going
we're
to
going
talk
to talk
about
about
CAD.
CAD.
What
What
is
is
CAD?
CAD?
CAD
CAD
simply
simply
means
means computer
computer-aided
aided
design.
design.
So
So
CAD
CAD
softwares
softwares
allow
allow
designers
designers
and
and
engineers
engineers
to
to
create
create
precise
precise
digital
digital
models
models
before
before
the
the
objects are
objects are
physically
physically
built.
built.
Think of
Think
it
of it
as
as
drawing up
drawing up
something on
something
a
on a
sheet of
sheet of
paper
paper
before
before
actually
actually
making it.
making
So
it. So
that's,
that's,
but
but
instead of a
instead of a
paper, we're
paper, we're
using
using
a
a
computer.
computer.
That's why it
That's why it
says
says
computer
computer
aided
aided
design.
design.
That's
That's
simply
simply
what
what
CAD
CAD
means.
means.
And
And
with
with
CAD, you
CAD, you
can
can
see
see
you
you
go
go
from the
from the
computer
computer
to the
to the
3D
3D
model
model
to the
to the
physical
physical
object.
object.
So
So
the
the
computer,
computer,
which is
which
the
is the
design,
design,
then the
then the
3D
3D
model,
model,
which is
which is
where
where
you
you
render
render
the
the
actual
actual
3D
3D
product.
product.
Then
Then
you
you
have the
have the
physical
physical
object. So
object.
it's
So
a
it's a
step-by-step
step-by-step
process. You
process. You
don't.
don't.
The
The
thing
thing
about
about
engineering is
engineering
that
is
you
that you
must
must
always
always
follow
follow
all the
all the
steps.
steps.
It's
It's
very,
very,
very
very
important
important
that you
that you
follow the
follow the
steps.
steps.
You must
You
not
must not
skip any
skip any
step,
step
because we're
because we're
talking
talking
about
about
the
the
livelihood.
livelihood.
And
And
when it
when it
comes to
comes to
safety,
safety,
you always
you always
follow and
follow and
ensure
ensure
that
that
in
in
construction you
construction you
always
always
follow the
follow the
steps,
steps
because
because
that's the
that's
best way
best
to
to
ensure
ensure
safety.
safety.
So,
So
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 it
it
simply
simply
means.
means.
So what
So
does
what does
CAD
CAD
mean?
mean?
It
It
simply
simply
means
means
using
using
computers to
computers to
create
create
digital
digital
models.
models.
So
So
today we're
today
gonna
we're gonna
be
be
our
our
first
first
uh, our
our
first
first
software we're
software
gonna
we're
be
going to be
using
using
today
today
is
is
Tinkercad,
Tinkercad,
and
and
I say
I
we
say we
use
use
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
because
because
it's a
it's a
free
free
software,
software,
and
and
it's
it's
very,
very
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 easy to
easy to
use.
use.
It's very
It's
easy
very
to
easy to
understand as
understand as
well.
well.
So
So
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
try
try
and
and
ensure
ensure
that
that
everyone
everyone
can
can
see
see
this
this
properly.
properly.
I'm explaining
Explain
the
the
interface
interface
of
of
Tinkercad to
Tinkercad to
you.
you.
So
So
this
this
is
is
our
our
workspace
workspace
grid,
grid,
and
and
currently
currently
I would
I would
say
say
this is
this is
where
where
you
you
do
do
most
most
of your
of your
designing on
designing
the
on the
workspace
workspace
grid.
grid.
And
And
then you
then you
have
have your name,
as
as
well
well
as
as
your
your
views. This
views.
is
This
how
is
you
how you
view
view
the
the
change your
change your
views.
views.
It's
it's
very easy
very
to
easy to
understand,
understand,
and
and
I'll
I'll
open
open
up
up
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
right
right
now,
now,
so
so
and
and
hopefully you
hopefully
all
you all
can
can
follow
follow
this
this
as I
as I
go.
go.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
we'll
we'll
start
start
with
with
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
right
right
here.
here.
So
So
when you
when you
open
open
Tinkercad,
Tinkercad,
this is
this is
what
what
you'll
you'll
first
first
see.
see.
Something like
Something like
this.
this.
Uh, it's
It's
uh, it's not
it's not
very
very
difficult to
difficult to
understand. I
understand. I
know it
know it
might
might
seem
seem
like a
like a
bit
bit
much at
much at
first,
first,
but
but
it's
it's
not.
not
It's not
it's not
difficult. It's a
difficult. It's a
free
free
software, so
software,
you
so you
don't
don't
need to
need to
pay
pay
for it.
for it.
It's
It's
very
very
it's
it's
free, so
free,
you
so
don't
you
need
don't
to
need to
pay
pay
for
for
anything
anything
here.
here.
So
So
what is
what is
Tinkercad?
Tinkercad?
Tinkercad is a
Tinkercad is a
free
free
online
online
3D
3D
software
software
that
that
lets you
lets you
design
design
models. It's
models. It's
created by
created by
Autodesk, so
Autodesk,
the
so the
same
same
developers
developers
of
of
Inventors
Inventors
are
are
the
the
same
same
people that
people that
made
made
Tinkercad. So
Tinkercad. So
it's
it's
a
a
similar
similar
software,
software,
but
but
this
this
is
is
mainly for
made for
beginners or
beginners or
for
for
those who
those who
just want to
just want to
get
get
into
into
the
the
hobby of
hobby of
3D
3D
printing,
printing,
or
or
for
for
businesses that
businesses that
want to
want to
make their
make their
own
own
materials.
materials.
So
So
when you
when you
get
get
into
into
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
and you
and you
go
go
into
into
design,
design,
you
you
usually
usually
have
have
three
three
main
main
sections,
sections,
which
which
is
is
3D,
3D,
circuits,
circuits,
and
and
code
code
blocks.
blocks.
So
So
for
for
3D
3D
design,
design,
this
this
is
is
where we
where we
create the
create the
actual
actual
3D
3D
models.
models.
And then
And then
for the
for the
circuits,
circuits,
this
this
is
is
mainly
mainly
used
used
for
for
electrical
electrical
simulations,
simulations,
like
like
trying to
trying to
test out
test out
if
if
an
an
electrical
electrical
component is
component
going
is
to
going to
work
work
and
and
things like
things like
that.
that.
And then
And then
code
code
blocks
blocks
simply
simply
means
means
using
using
codes or
codes or
programming
programming
blocks
blocks
to
to
model or
model or
create
create
objects.
objects.
But
But
today we're
today
going
we're
to be
going to be
focusing
focusing
on
on
3D
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 design.
design.
So
So
the
the
first thing
first
that
thing
you want
that
to
you want to
do
do
is
is
click
click
on
on
create
create
and
and
go to
go to
3D
3D
design,
design.
and
And
then
then
as you
as
can
you can
see, this
see,
is
this
our
is our
work
work
plane.
plane.
It's
It's
where
where
we're going to
we're
be
going to be
doing
doing
most of
most
our
of our
work
work
and
and
designing.
designing.
So now
So now
understanding
understanding
our
our
workspace.
workspace.
So
So
first,
first,
our
our
work
work
plane.
plane.
This is
This
the
is the
area.
area.
This
This
area is
area is
called the
called the
work
work
plane,
plane,
as
as
stated
stated
here.
here.
This is
This is
where all
where all
models are
models are
created.
created.
On the
On the
right
right
side,
side,
we
we
have
have
all
all
our
our
shapes.
shapes.
You can
You can
see
see
over here
over
there are
here there are
more
more
library of
library of
shapes.
shapes.
We have
We have
letters and
letters and
numbers.
numbers.
We
We
also
also
have
have
design
design
starters,
starters,
as
as
well
well
as
as
creatures
creatures
and
and
characters, as
characters,
well
as
as
well as
vehicles,
vehicles,
machinery,
machineries,
and
and
more
more
some other
some other
complex
complex
materials. But
materials.
today
But
we're
today
going to
we're
be
going to be
sticking with
sticking with
basic
basic
shapes,
shapes,
because
because
we're gonna
we're gonna
start
start
basic
basic
from
stuff from
today,
today,
and
and
from there
from
we're
there
gonna
we're gonna
move
move
into
into
more
more advanced
modeling.
modeling.
So
So on the top of
on the
the
top
top
of
of
the
the
interface
interface
is the
is the
cube,
cube,
the
the
view
view
cube.
cube.
It's
It's
called the
called the
view
view
cube
cube
because it's
because
how
it's
you
how you
control
control
the
the
view.
view.
Because say
Because
when
say
I
when I
click on the
click on the
top,
top,
we
we
can
can
view the
view the
top.
top.
When I
When I
click on the
click on the
front,
front,
it
it
shows us
shows
the
us the
front,
front,
and
and
then
then
the
the
right,
right,
the
the
back,
back,
the
the
bottom.
bottom.
So that's how you
That's how you
control. You
control. You
can
can
right
right
click and
click and
hold
hold
and
and
drag
drag
just
just
to
to
observe.
observe.
That's how
That's how
you
you
control
control
the
the
view
view
cube.
cube.
Now,
Now,
so
so
moving
moving
around with
around
the
with the
3D
3D
space,
space,
you
you
can
can
either
either
use
use
this to
this to
zoom
zoom
in,
in,
or you
or
can
you
use
can
your
use your
middle
middle
mouse
mouse
scroll
scroll
button to
button to
zoom in.
zoom in.
There are
There are
multiple
multiple
ways
ways
of
of
zooming
zooming
in,
in,
and if you
and if you
want
want
to
to
rotate,
rotate,
you
you
hold
hold
right,
right,
you
you
hold the
hold the
right
right
click,
click,
and
and
then
then
you
you
just
just
move your
move your
mouse
mouse
either
either
left,
left,
right,
right,
up,
up
and
and
down, and
down, and
that's how
that's
you
how you
easily
easily
rotate
rotate
the
the
work
work
plane.
plane.
And
And
understanding,
understanding,
if you want
if
to
you want to
reset
reset
the
the
view, it's
view, it's
very,
very,
very
very
easy. All
easy.
you have
All
to
you have
do
to
is
do is
click on
click on
home,
home,
and it
and it
resets the
resets the
view to
view to
the
the
default
default
view
view do
before you
before you
started
started
making
making
any
any
changes, as you
changes,
can
as you can
see
see
here.
here.
So now we're
we're
gonna
gonna
be
be
adding
adding
our
our
first
first
shape.
shape.
Okay, so
Okay,
we're
so
gonna
we're
be
gonna be
working
working on first
with
with
adding our
adding our
first
first
shape.
shape.
So what
So
we
what we
want to
want
do
to do
first of
first of
all
all
is
is
pick
pick
up the
up the
block
block
and
and
place it.
place it.
Just
Just
left
left
click on the
click on the
block
block
and you
and
drag.
drag.
You
You
left
left
click on the
click on the
block
block
and
and
then
then
you
you
drag
drag
and you
and you
place it
place it
directly
directly
anywhere on the
anywhere on the
work plane
work
and
plane
then
and
you
then you
release.
release.
See,
So
there you
there you
have
have
your
your
there you
there you
have your
have your
first
first
basic
basic
shape.
shape.
So
So
everything in
everything in
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
starts with
starts
a
with a
basic
basic
shape,
shape,
and
and
from there
from
you
there
can
you can
create
create
more
more
advanced
advanced
shapes by
shapes by
adding
adding
more and
more and
more
more
basic
basic
shapes
shapes
and
and
uh,
uh,
changing how
changing
it
how it
looks.
looks.
So
So
if we
if we
look at the
look at the
shape
shape
handles,
handles,
these are
this
what
are
we
what
call
we call
handles.
handles.
This
This
lets you
lets you
control
control
the
the
width,
width,
the
the
length,
length,
and the
and the
height.
height.
So
So
with
with
this,
this,
I can
I can
control the
control the
height of
height
the
of the
box.
box.
All I
All I
need to
need
do
to
is
do is
left
left
click and
click and
hold
hold
and
and
drag,
drag,
and you
and
can
you can
see
see
the
the
size
size
is
is
increased, the
increased, the
dimension
dimension
changes.
changes.
If I
If I
want to
want to
change the
change the
length,
length,
all I
all I
need to
need
do
to do
is
is
hold
hold
this,
this,
left
left
click and
click and
hold
hold
and
and
drag,
drag.
and
And
that's
that's
how I'm
how I'm
changing the
changing the
length.
length.
If I
If
want
I
to
want to
change the
change the
width,
width,
I'll
I'll
pick
pick
this
this
handle
handle
right
right
here
here
and
and
drag it.
drag it.
That's
That's
how I
how I
change
change the.
that's the
That's the
easiest way
easiest
of
way of
changing the
changing the
width.
width.
Another
Another
way
way
is when
is
you
when you
select
select
this, when
this,
you
when you
select the
select the
object,
object.
most times
Most
I'll
times I'll
advise you
advise you
not
not
to
to
change
change
dimensions by
dimensions by
dragging.
dragging.
It's
It's
much
much
more
more
better,
better,
and
and
it will
it will
always be
always be
better
better
to
to
use
use
precise
precise
dimensions. So
dimensions.
when
So
I
when I
say
say
precise
precise
dimensions,
dimensions, I mean
when I
when I
click on
click on
this,
this,
I can
I can
easily
easily
change the
change the
width.
width.
I
I
can
can
make
make
this
this
instead of
instead of
30 and
20
put an
put an
exact
exact
precise
precise
number,
number,
make this
make this
20.
20.
See,
See,
and that
that
changes.
changes.
If I
If I
want to
want to
change the
change the
length,
length,
when I
when I
hover
hover
over
over
this
this
part,
part,
I can
I can
see
see
the
the,
I can
I
see
can see
the
the,
when I
when I
hover over
hover
this
over this
part, I
part,
can
I
see
can
the
see the
dimensions. All
dimensions.
I
All
need
I
to
need
do
to
is
do is
click
click on it,
on the
click on the
dimension,
dimension,
and change
change
this.
this.
This now
This now
says
says
40.
40.
The
The
same thing
same
with the
thing with the
height. If I
height. If I
wanted to
wanted to
change the
change
height,
the
all
height,
I
all I
need to do
need
is
to do is
select
select
this.
this.
Instead of
Instead of
dragging,
dragging,
I will
I will
input
input
a
a
precise
precise
number,
number.
and I
And
can
I can
say we
say we
can
can
make
make
this a
this a
height of
height of
30
30
millimeters.
millimeters.
Now,
Now,
when it
when it
comes to
comes to
changing
changing
your
your
parameters, when I
parameters, when I
say
say
parameters, I
parameters, I
mean
mean
your
your
metric, your
metric, your
units.
units.
So we
So
can
we
either
can either
use
use
the
the
metric
metric
or the
or the
imperial.
imperial.
So the
So the
metric
metric
which
which
lets
lets
you
you
use
use
millimeters,
millimeters,
centimeters, or
centimeters, or
meters,
meters.
and
And
then the
then the
imperial
imperial,
which
which
uses
uses
inches
inches
and
and
feet.
feet.
So, but
So,
for
but for
today's
today's
class,
class,
I'll
I'll
keep it
keep
with
it with
metric,
metric,
and we
and
can
we can
use
use
millimeters.
millimeters.
Uh,
Uh,
so,
so,
uh,
uh,
with the
with the
handles,
handles, you
you can
can
also
also
rotate
rotate
objects with
objects
the
with the
handles.
handles.
Each of
Each of
these
these
handles
handles
lets you
lets you
perform a
perform a
specific
specific
operation.
operation.
If you
If
look
you
at
look at
this right
this right
here
here,
where
where
it
it
looks
looks
like
like
it's
it's
about to
about to
rotate, this
rotate,
is
this
how
is
you
how you
rotate
rotate
a part. So all
parts.
I
So all
need
I
to
need
do
to do
is
is
left
left
click and
click and
hold
hold
and
and
move
move
this.
this.
And you can
You can
see it
see it
says
says
45
45
degrees,
degrees,
22.5,
22.5,
67.5,
67.5,
90
90
degrees.
degrees.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So
So
now
now
another
another
thing I
thing I
want you
want
to
you to
take note
take
of
note of
is
is
when I
when I
place
place
this
this
in
in
front of
front of
you,
you,
you can
you can
see
see
it's a
it's a
bit
bit,
it's not
it's
on the
not on the
base of
base
our
of our
work
work
plane.
plane.
And if
And
we
if we
do
do
this
this
and
and
send it
send
to the
it to the
printer,
printer,
we
we
don't
don't
want
want
our
our
printer to
printer to
be
be,
there's no way
there's
the
no way the
printer
printer
can
can
print a
print a
floating
floating
object.
object.
You can
You can
basically
basically
see the
see the
shadow
shadow
right here.
right
So
here.
we
So we
don't
don't
want
want
this.
this.
So you
So
have
you
to
have to
always
always
ensure
ensure
that
that
your
your
object or
object
your
or your
part
part
is
is
directly
directly
on your
on your
work
work
plane.
plane.
And how
And
do
how
we
do we
do
do
that?
that?
We go
We go
back to the
back to the
handles.
handles.
Like I
Like I
said, with
said,
the
with the
handles, it
handles, it
lets
lets
you
you
operate or
operate or
change
change
most of
most of
these
these
things.
things.
So,
So,
for
for
example,
example,
the
the
easiest way
easiest
to
way
do
to
this
do
would
this
be
would be
with
with
this
this
handle
handle
right
right
here.
here.
So with
So with
this,
this,
I
I
can.
can.
So with
So with
this,
this,
I
I
can
can
easily
easily
move
move
it
it
up,
up,
and you can
and you
see
can see
it's
it's
7
7
millimeters
millimeters
away
away
from
from
the
the
work
work
plane.
plane.
And I
And
can
I can
take this
take this
down.
down.
It's
It's
1
1
and
and
then
then
0.
0.
Or you
Or you
can
can
take
take
it
it
below
below
the
the
work
work
plane, but
plane, but we don't want
to
to
do
do
that. We
that. We
always want
always
to
want to
ensure
ensure
that
that
our
our
object
object
sits
sits
directly
directly
on the
the
work
work
plane,
plane,
unless
unless
it's a
it's a
job
job
specific
specific
requirement,
requirement,
which
which
I
I
highly
highly
doubt there will
doubt there
be a
will
lot
be a
of
lot of
that.
that.
So
So
another
another
way
way
you
you
can
can
make
make
changes
changes
without
without
using
using
the
the
handles
handles
or
or
these
these
points
points
is by
is by
using the
using the
property
property
box.
box.
So if you
So if
can
you
look
can
at it
look at
from
it
here,
from
we
here,
can
we can
change the
change the
length
length
using
using
this.
this.
So when
So
I
when I
drag
drag
this,
this,
see,
see,
it
it
moves.
moves.
And then I
And then
can
I can
also
also
change the
change the
width
width
using
using
this,
this,
as
as
well
well
as
as
the
the
height.
height.
Okay, so
Okay, so
the
the
reason
reason
why it
why it
looks
looks
like
like
this is
this is
because
because
if you
if you
remember,
remember,
we
we
rotated
rotated
this
this
90
90
degrees.
degrees.
So
So
now the
now the
height
height
is
is
facing
facing
this way
this way
now.
now.
So if
So
I
if I
take this
take this
back,
back,
you can
you can
see
see
now the
now the
height,
height,
now
now
this
this
increases the
increases the
height,
height,
just like
just
we
like we
wanted,
wanted.
and
And
this
this
increases the
increases the
width,
width,
and this
and this
increases the
increases the
length,
length.
just like
Just
we
like
want.
one.
Another
Another
function that
function
you
that
can
you can
find here
find here
is
is
the
the
radius. If
radius.
you
If you
want a
want a
rounded
rounded
corner,
corner,
all you
all
have
you
to
have to
do
do
is,
is,
and you can
and you
see
can see it's no
it's no
it's no
longer a
longer a
sharp
sharp
point
point
anymore,
anymore,
but
but
instead
instead
it's now
it's now
rounded
rounded
at the
at the
corners.
corners.
So
So
that's what
that's
the
what the
radius
radius
actually
actually
does.
does.
If I
If I
wanted to
wanted to
make this
make
a
this a
whole,
whole, the
the larger the
larger the
radius,
radius,
the
the
rounder the
rounder the
edge is
edge is
gonna
gonna
be.
be.
So
So
next we're
next we're
gonna
gonna
be
be
looking
looking
at
at
basic
basic
duplication.
duplication.
So
So
say you
say you
wanted
wanted
to
to
duplicate
duplicate
this
this
object.
object.
The easiest
Easiest
way,
way,
so you
so
wanted
you
to
wanted to
duplicate its
duplicate its
object, the
object.
easiest way
Easiest way
would
would
be
be
to
to
come over
come over
here
here
and
and
use
use
this
this
duplicates right
duplicates right
here.
here.
Or you
Or
can
you
use
can use
copy,
copy.
but
Or
using
using
duplicate would
duplicate
be
would be
better.
better.
So when
So
I
when I
click on
click on
duplicate,
duplicate,
it's
it's
already
already
been
been
duplicated. So
duplicated.
all I
So
need
all I
to
need
do
to
is
do is
drag
drag
this,
this,
and I
and
have
I have
to.
to.
So if
So
you
if
want
you
to
want to
create
create
an
an
object that
object that
has
has
an
an
identical
identical
copy,
copy,
this is
this
how
is
you
how
do
you
it.
do it.
It's
It's
very, very, very,
very,
very
very
easy.
easy.
And if I
And if I
wanted to,
wanted
I
to,
can
I can
select
select
this
this
again
again
and
and
make
make
another
another
duplicate.
duplicate.
And
And
just like
just like
that,
that,
we now
we now
have
have
we now
we
have
now have
4.
4.
And just like
Just
that,
like
we
that,
now
we now
have
have
4.
4.
So
So
next we'll be
next we'll be
looking at
looking at
the
the
undo
undo
and
and
redo. So
redo.
in
So in
case
case
you
you
ever
ever
made a
made a
mistake and
mistake
you
and you
wanted to
wanted to
make
make
a
a
quick
quick
change,
change,
the easier
easy
fix
fix
would
would
be
be
to
to
undo
undo
most
most
of
of
the
the
changes
changes
right
right
here.
here.
And if you
And if you
wanted to
wanted to
take back
take
the
back the
change, you
change,
can
you can
redo it
redo it
and
and
have it
have it
all
all
added
added
back.
back.
So the
So the
interface is
interface is
pretty
pretty
straightforward and
straightforward and
actually
actually
very
very
easy.
easy.
So now
So
the
now the
next
next
tool I
tool I
want to
want to
observe
observe
is
is
the
the
text
text
tool.
tool.
So I'll
So I'll
delete
delete
this,
this,
have this deleted,
delete it,
and
and
then
then
the
the
text
text
tool
tool
is right
It's
here.
right
You
here.
can
You can
see
just
it
see it
right
right
here.
here.
All you
All
need
you
to
need
do
to
is
do is
left
left
click and
click and
hold and
hold and
drag.
drag.
So now
So now
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
lets
lets
us
us
edit the
edit the
text
text
from
from
this
this
box right
box right
here. So
here. So
all you
all you
have to
have to
do,
do,
all you
all
have
you
to
have to
do
do
is
is
change the
change the
text. So
text.
we
So
can
we can
say
say
uh,
uh,
something
something
like
like
3D,
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 3D Fab
CAD
Studio.
Studio.
Yes,
Yes,
something
something
like
like
this.
this.
So that's how
That's
you
how you
change
change
the
the
text. If you
text. If you
wanted to
wanted to
change the
change the
font,
fonts,
you can
you
do
can
that
do that
here.
here.
So if I
If
wanted
I
to
want
use
to use
this, I
this, I
can
can
use
use
that
that
instead.
instead.
If I
If I
wanted to
wanted to
change the
change the
height, the
height, the
same way
same
we
way we
changed the
changed the
properties of
properties
the
of the
cube
cube
earlier,
earlier,
we will
we
do
would
the
do the
same
same
thing by
thing by
adjusting the
adjusting the
height,
height,
making
making
this a
this a
bit
bit
higher
higher
if we
if we
wanted.
wanted.
It's
It's
always
always
better
better
to
to
use
use
text,
text,
typing in
typing
the
in the
actual
actual
dimensions,
dimensions.
and
And
then
then
for the
for the
bevel,
bevel,
it
it
depends on
depends on
how
how
thick
thick
you
you
want it
want
to
it to
be,
be,
as
as
well
well
as
as
segments,
segments,
which
which
so now
well,
that's the
that's the
easiest
easiest
way
way
to
to
add
add
text
text
as
as
well
well
as
as
edit the
edit the
text.
text.
Also
Also
changing the
changing the
fonts
fonts
as
as
well.
well.
So
So
that's
that's
where
the
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
makes it
makes it
very
very
easy
easy
for us
for
to
us to
do
do
this.
this.
We can
We can
also
also
change the
change the
thickness,
thickness,
change the
change the
size.
size.
If you
If
wanted
you
to
wanted to
change the
change the
size as
size as
well, you
well,
can
we can
also
also
change the
change the
size
size
using
using
the
the
handles or
handles
the
or the
points.
points.
Just
Just
dragging it
dragging it
this
this
way.
way.
It's one
It's
of the
one of the
easiest
easiest
ways
ways
to
to
change the
change the
size.
size.
So now
So now
we'll
we'll
also
also
talk
talk
about
about
the
the
grid.
grid.
So when
So
I
when I
say the
say the
grid,
grid,
I'm
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
these
these
points right
points right
here.
here.
This is
This
what
is
we
what we
call
call
refer
refer
to
to
as
as
the
the
grid.
grid.
So
So
we
we
can
can
change
change
each
each
of
of
these.
the,
If you
if you
observe
observe
this,
this,
I'm going
I'm
to
going to
zoom in
zoom
and
in
it
and it
snaps
snaps
into the
into the
grid
grid
at
at
1 millimeters.
1 millimeters.
So as you
So as
can
you can
see, so
see, so
each
each
of
of
these
these
blocks
blocks
is
is
1 millimeter.
1
So
millimeter.
from
So from
here to
here to
here
here
is
is
one
1
millimeter.
millimeter.
The
The
same thing
same
from
thing from
here.
here.
So if
So
you
if you
wanted to
want to
change
change
this,
this,
all you
all
have
you
to
have
do
to
is
do
go
is go
here
here
and
and
increase the
increase the
snap
snap
gauge.
gauge.
So let's say
Let's say
we
we
instead of
instead of
1, we
1, we
wanted to
want
make
to
it
make it
5.
5.
So when
So
I
when
do
I do
that,
that,
it
it
simply
simply
means
means
that
that
instead of
instead of
snapping
snapping
one
one
grid
grid
at a
at a
time, it's
time,
going
it's
to
gonna
snap
snap
5
5
millimeters,
millimeters,
just like
just like
this.
this.
So
So
1,
one,
just like
just like
that,
that,
just like
just like
that.
that.
So
So
instead of
instead of
1
1
millimeters,
millimeters,
it's now
it's now
going
going
5
5
millimeters
millimeters
instead.
instead.
But for
But
this
for this
class, we'll
class, we'll
keep it
keep it
at
at
1
1
millimeter.
millimeter.
So
So
that's
that's
how
how
you
you
that's how
that's
you
how you
control the
control the
grid
grid
movement
movement
and the
and the
placement of
placement of
your
your
objects.
objects.
Um,
Um,
1
1
mm
mm
gives it
gives
a
it a
finer
finer
movement,
movement,
so
so
larger
larger
values
values
move
move
object
object
faster.
faster.
So if you
So if
want
you
to
want to
move an
move an
object
object
faster,
faster,
then
then
you
you
can
can
increase it
increase
to
it to
5
5
mm,
mm
and so
and
on
so
and
on
so
and so
forth.
forth.
So now
So
the
now
next
the next
tool that I
tool that I
want to
wanted to
talk
talk
about
about
is the
is the
ruler
ruler
tool,
tool,
and for
and
that
for that
I'll
I'll
place
place
a
a
block
block
right
right
here,
here.
and
And
then
then
we
we
pick up
pick up
the
the
ruler
ruler
tool.
tool.
So when I
So when I
say
say
a
a
ruler,
ruler,
I mean
I
like
mean
a
like a
measuring
measuring
tool,
tool,
which
which
is
is
what we
what we
see
see
right
right
here.
here.
For
For
most
most
tools on
tools on
Inventor,
Inventor,
all you
all you
have to
have to
do
do
is
is
hover
hover
over the
over the
tool,
tool,
and it
and it
usually
usually
gives
gives
you
you
the
the
name of the
name of the
tool,
tool,
what it
what it
does,
does,
and
and
any other
any other
detail that
detail
you
that you
might
may
need.
need.
So all
So
I
all
need
I
to
need to
do
do
is
is
left
left
click,
click,
hold,
hold,
and
and
drag.
drag.
So you
So you
can
can
place it
place it
next to
next
the
to the
object, or
object,
you
or
can
you can
place it
place it
anywhere
anywhere
on the
on the
grid
grid
on the
on the
work
work
plane,
plane,
and it will
and it will
give you the
give you the
measurements. So
measurements.
now
So
all you
now
have
all
to
you
do
have to
is
do is
click
click
on
on
the
the
part
part
that you
that you
want to be
want to be
measured,
measured,
and it
and it
automatically
automatically
gives you
gives you
the
the
detailed
detailed
dimension of
dimension of
every
every
single one.
single
If I
one. If
want
I
to
want
see
to
the
see the
measurement
measurement
of
of
this,
this,
all I'll
all
do
I'll
is
do is
click on
click
it,
on it.
and you can
You can
see
see,
I know
I
that
know
the
that the
height is
height is
5
5
mm.
mm.
I
I
know that
know that
the
the
width
width
is
is
112
112
mm,
mm,
and the
and the
length
length
is
is
8.49
8.49
mm.
mm.
I
I
also
also
I
I
also
also
know you
know
can
you can
also
also
figure out
figure out
the
the
distance from the
distance from the
object
object
to the
to the
work
work
plane. So
plane.
as you
So
can
you
say
can
it
say
is
it is
2
2
mm
mm
above
above
the
the
work
work
plane.
plane.
That's
That's
basically
basically
what the
what the
roller
roller
tool
tool
is.
is.
It's
It's
used
used
mainly
mainly
for
for
measuring
measuring
and
and
to
to
ensure
ensure
accurate
accurate
dimensions. I
dimension.
will advise
Advise
that
that
at
at
every
every
point in
point in
time
time
you should
you should
always
always
make
make
use of
use
the
of the
measuring
measuring
tool,
tool
because it's
because
very
it's very
important.
important.
Next,
Next,
we're going to
we're
be
going to be
talking
talking
about
about
grouping
grouping
and
and
holes.
holes.
So when
So
I
when I
say
say
grouping, I
grouping, I
mean
mean
combining
combining
two
two two
objects. So
objects. So
I
I
apologize.
apologize.
If you
If you
wanted to
wanted to
take
take
off the
off the
ruler,
ruler,
all you
all
have
you
to
have
do
to do
is
is
click
click
on
on
the
the
X to
X to
dismiss the
dismiss the
ruler, or
ruler, or
click on the
click on the
ruler
ruler
again.
again.
That's
That's
all.
all.
That's how
That's
you
how you
take
take
off
off
the
the
ruler.
ruler.
So
So
now I'm
now
going to
I'm
be
going to be
talking
talking
about
about
combining
combining
multiple
multiple
objects.
objects.
So
So
let's say
let's
this
say
is our
this is our
first
first
object,
object,
and
and
now
now
we
we
have
have
another
another
one.
one.
So
So
grouping
grouping
simply
simply
means
means
combining
combining
multiple
multiple
shapes
shapes
into a
into a
single
single
object.
object.
So
So
first,
first,
I'm going to
I'm
be
gonna be
looking
looking
at
at
adding
adding
another
another
object to
object to
this.
this.
So
So we'll pick up,
we'll
we'll
left
left
click on
click on
this.
this.
Let's
Let's
add,
add, let's
let's transform
transform
this
this
into
into
a
sort of a
basic
basic
house.
house.
So I'm
So
going
I'm
to
gonna
pick the
pick the
roof,
roof,
left click,
left click,
hold,
hold,
and
and
drag.
drag.
So what I
So what
want
I
to
want
see
to
is
see is that
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
makes it
makes it
easy
easy
to
to
place
place
objects.
objects.
So I want
So I
you to
want you to
take note
take
of
note
this.
of
I
this.
want to
I want
place
to place
this on
this on
top of
top of
this.
this.
So when
So
I
when I
move it
move it
closer to
closer to
this
this
object, you
object,
can
you can
see
see
immediately
immediately
it
it
changes
changes
from
from
blue
blue
to
to
orange,
orange,
which
which
tells me
tells
that
me that
I'm
I'm
about to
about to
place
place
this
this
object
object
on
on
top of
top of
another,
another,
on top
on
of
top
this
of this
plane.
plane.
So all I
So all
need
I
to
need
do
to do
is
is
release it,
release it,
and you can
and you can
see
see
it's on
it's on
top of
top
it.
of it.
So now
So
all we
now all
have
we
to
have
do
to do
is
is
arrange
arrange
this,
this,
make
make
sure it
sure it
sticks,
sticks,
and I would
and I would
like to
like to
increase the
increase the
length of
length of
this,
this,
make this
make
a
this a
bit
bit
wider.
wider.
Perfect. Should be
Would be
good
good
enough.
enough.
Okay,
Okay, so
uh, now
now
these two
these two
objects are
objects are
not
not
a
a
single
single
object. So
object. So
if we're
if
going
we're
to
going to
send
send
this to a
this to a
3D
3D
printer,
printer,
the
the
3D
3D
printer might
printer might
return an
return an
error.
error.
So
So
in
in
order
order
to
to
avoid
avoid
that,
that,
what you
what you
do,
do,
I can
I
show you
can
an
show you an
example.
example.
So
So
just
just
because you
because you
place this
place this
object on
object
top
on
of
top
this
of
does
this
not
does not
mean that
mean
they're
that they're
all the
all the
same.
same.
Because if
Because
I
if I
move
move
this, you
this,
can
you can
see it
see it
only
only
moves
moves
the
the
cube.
cube.
I'm going to
Going to
undo
undo
this.
this.
So
So
now,
now,
if you
if
want
you
to
want to
group
group
an
an
object,
object,
all you
all
have
you
to
have to
do
do
is
is
select
select
all of
all
it.
of it.
If I
If
want
I
to
want to
select,
select, all I have to do is
left
left
click and
click and
hold
hold
and
and
drag
drag
across the
across the
objects that I
objects that
want
I
to
want to
select.
select.
So when
So
I
when
do
I do
that,
that,
take
take
note of
note of
this.
this.
You
You
see it
see
right
it right
here.
here.
Union
Union
group.
group.
See?
See?
It
It
shows you
shows
what
you
it
what it
actually
actually
does.
does.
It
It
groups the
groups the
objects
objects
and
and
makes it
makes
a
it a
single
single
piece.
piece.
So when
So
I
when
do
I do
that,
that,
this
this
object is
object is
now
now
a
a
single
single
piece.
piece.
So that is
So that is
what
what
grouping
grouping
is.
is.
So you
So you
must
must
always
always
group
group
any of
any
your
of your
objects
objects
before
before
sending it
sending it
to the
to the
3D
3D
printer.
printer.
Very,
Very,
very
very
important.
important.
It's a
It's a
step that
step
you
that you
should
should
not
not
miss
miss
because we
because
do
we
not
do not
want the
want the
printer to
printer to
think
think
of
of
each
each
of
of
these
these
items
items
as
as
individual
individual
items.
items.
Instead, we
Instead, we
want the
want the
printer to
printer to
think of
think of
this
this
as a
as a
single
single
item or a
item or
single
single
object.
object.
Um, so
So
next, we're going
next,
to
we're
be
going to be
talking
talking
about
about
converting
converting
a
a
cylinder
cylinder
or
or
a
a
part
part
to a
to a
hole.
hole.
When I
When
say
I say
converting a
converting a
cylinder to
cylinder
a
to a
hole, this
hole, this
is
is
simply what
simply
I
what I
mean.
mean.
If I
If I
add
add
this,
this,
I
I
will
will
reduce the
reduce the
height of
height of
this
this
and
and
increase the
increase the
length.
length.
And if we
And if we
wanted to
wanted to
add a
add a
hole
hole
to
to
this
this
part,
part,
I
I
can
can
pick
pick
this
this
cylinder
cylinder
right
right
here,
here,
drag,
drag,
and
and
drop it
drop it
here.
here.
So now
So
I
now I
want you to
want you
take
to take
note.
note.
Right
Right
here in
here in the
properties, we
properties, we
have
have
solids
solids
as well
as
as
well as
whole.
whole.
For
For
solids,
solids,
this
this
makes the
makes the
part a
part
solid
solid
unless you
unless you
change the
change the
color as
color as
well.
well.
This
This
does not
does not
affect the
affect the
printer,
printer,
but
but
it's
it's
only
only
a
a
design
design
process. So
process. So
it's
it's
only
only
for
for
Tinkercad.
Tinkercad.
What I
What I
mean is
mean is
just
just
because you
because you
colored
colored
this
this
yellow does
yellow
not
does not
mean that
mean
your
that your
printer is
printer is
going to
going to
print
print
this
this
as
as
yellow.
yellow.
That
That
is
is
basically what
basically
it
what it
means.
means.
Also, as
Also, as
well
well
as
as
changing the
changing the
colors, you
colors,
can
you can
either
either
also make
also
it
make it
transparent
transparent
or
or
not,
not,
or
or
add a
add a
multicolor.
multicolor.
So,
So,
but
but
we're not
we're not
focusing on the
focusing on the
colors for
colors for
now.
now.
What we
What
want
we
to
want to
focus
focus
on
on
is
is
on the
on the
hole.
hole.
So if I
So if
wanted
I
to
wanted to
create a
create a
hole
hole
in
in
this
this
rectangular
rectangular
cube,
cube,
what I
what I
would
would
do,
do
let's
is
reduce the
reduce the
size of
size of
our
our
hole
hole
first.
first.
What I would
What I
do
would
is
do is
click on
click on
hole.
hole.
As you can
As you can
see,
see,
it
it
turns
turns
it
it
into
into
a
a gray
shaded
shaded
out
out
part.
part.
What that
What that
means is
means is
that
that
this
this
entire
entire
part,
part,
all I
all
need
I
to do
need to do
now is
now is
put
put
this
this
here,
here,
and
and
then
then
select
select
both
both
parts
parts
and
and
group.
group.
Look at
Look
that.
at that.
So you
You
see,
see,
now we
now
have
we
a
have a
hole
hole
right through
right
the
through the
middle.
middle.
So
So
what
what
grouping
grouping
simply
simply
does, and
does,
if
and
I
if I
wanted to
wanted to
ungroup
ungroup
this
this
and bring
and
the
bring the
part back,
part
so
back,
all I
so all
need
I
to
need
do
to
is
do is
dismiss
dismiss
this
this
that's
that's
ungroup,
ungroup,
which is
which
right
is right
here,
here,
and the
and the
part,
part,
and I
and
can
I can
select the
select the
part
part
again.
again.
So what it
So what it
means is
means is
that
that
this
this
shape
shape
is
is
gonna
gonna
take
take
whatever
whatever
cuts
cuts
out
out
from
from
this
this
material.
material.
So that
So
is
that is
how you
how you
can
can
effectively
effectively
cut
cut
out
out
or
or
create
create
holes in a
holes in a
part.
part.
So when I
So when I
group it,
group it,
you can see
you
it
see
right
it right
there.
there.
And this
This is
it's one
it's
of the
one of the
most
most
powerful
powerful
tools
tools
on
on
Tinkercad,
Tinkercad
because
because
instead
instead
of
of
adding
adding
material,
material,
it
it
lets
lets
us
us
remove
remove
material. So
material. So
that's
that's
what
what
the
the
grouping
grouping
actually
actually
is.
is.
So
So
think of
think
it
of it
as
as
subtracting
subtracting
shapes.
shapes.
So we're
So we're
gonna,
gonna
an
an
easier way
easier
to
way to
think of
think
it
of
is
it
that
is
think
think
of
of
it
it
as
as
subtracting
subtracting
this
this
shape
shape from this.
So
So
whatever
whatever
size
size
you
you
make in
make
this
this
scenario
scenario
is
is
what you're
what
going
you're
to
going to
subtract
subtract
from
from
this
this
cube,
cube,
from
from
this
this
rectangular
rectangular
cube.
cube.
Just think
Just
of
think
it
of
that
it
way.
that way.
Think of it
Think of it
as
as
subtracting a
subtracting a
piece
piece
from
from
another
another
piece.
piece.
So all
So
I
all
would
I would
need to
need to
do
do
is
is
group
group
this
this again,
and top
top
view
view,
right
right
there.
there.
You can
You
see
can
it.
see it.
Now, if you
Now, if you
wanted to
wanted to
now this
now this
doesn't
doesn't
only
only
work
work
for
for
the
the
cylinder.
cylinder.
It
It
works
works
for
for
nearly
nearly
every
every
other
other
shape
shape
that you
that you
can
can
possibly
possibly
think of.
think of.
Let's say,
Let's
for
say, for
example, I
example, I
wanted to
wanted to
put
put
a
a
door, a
door, a
makeshift
makeshift
door
door
on
on
this,
this,
or a
or a
space
space
for a
for a
door
door
where a
where a
door is
door
going
is
to
going
go
to go
through.
through.
All I
All
need
I
to
need
do
to do
is
is uh,
pick a
pick a
block.
block.
I'm going to
I'm going to
reduce the
reduce the
size of
size of
this,
this.
reduce the
Reduce the
size of
size
this
of this
quite a
quite a
bit,
bit.
and
And
then
then,
just like
just
we
like we
did with
did
the
with the
cylinder,
cylinder,
for
for
every
every
basic
basic
shape,
shape,
it
it
has a
has a
solid
solid
as well
as
as a
well as a
hole.
hole.
So
So
all I
all
would
I would
need to
need to
do
do
is
is
click on the
click on the
hole,
hole,
and
and
then
then
add
add
this
this
into
into
the
the
shape.
shape.
And
And
now,
now,
the next thing we
next thing we
do,
do,
like
like
usual,
usual,
we
we
group,
group.
and just
And
like
just like
that,
that,
you have
you have
a
a
cutout
cutout
subtracted
subtracted
from the
from the
part
part
that we
that we
made.
made.
So, like
So
I
like I
said,
said,
think
think
of
of
it
it
as
as
subtracting
subtracting
this
this
from
from
this.
this.
So if you
So
were
if you were
going to
going to
make
make
a
a
whole
whole
spacing
spacing
for a
for a
door,
door,
you have
you
to
have to
make sure
make
that
sure that
this
this
follows an
follows an
exact
exact
dimension. But
dimension. But
right now
right
we're
now we're
just
just
using
using
a
a
random
random
dimension just
dimension
to
just to
understand
understand
how
how each of these
shapes
shapes
work
work
hand in
hand in
hand
hand
together.
together.
So
So
I'll
I'll
group
group
this
this
again.
again.
If
If
I
I
if I
if I
wanted to
wanted to
make
make
like a
a
corridor,
corridor,
all I would
all I
need
would
to
need to
do
do
is
is
make sure
make
that
sure
this
that
is
this is
longer
longer
than
than
this,
this.
and
And
then
then
you
you
can
can
group
group
it,
it.
and
And
just like
just like
that,
that,
just like
just like
that,
that,
you have
I
a
have a
hole
hole
created
created
from the
from the
subtracted
subtracted
part that
part
we
that we
made.
made.
So
So
that's
that's one of the
that's why I
that's why
said
I
it's
said
one
it's
of the
one of the
most
most
powerful
powerful
tools
tools
in
in
Tinkercad.
Tinkercad.
So
So
next,
next,
using
using
all
all
that we
that
have
we have
learned,
learned,
we
we
are
are
going
going
to
to
combine
combine
all of
all of
the
the
basic
basic
processes to
processes to
create
create
a
a
project, a
project, a
keychain
keychain
that we're
that we're
going to
going to
send
send
to the
to the
3D
3D
printer
printer
for
for
printing.
printing.
So
So
I
I
hope you
hope you
guys can
guys can
follow
follow
me. I'm
me.
going
I'm
to
going
try
to
and
try and
make it
make it
as
as
easy
easy
as I
as I
can.
can.
It
It
is
is
easy,
easy,
but
but I
I will
will
try to
try to
make it
make
as
it as
easy as
easy
I
as I
can.
can.
So you
So
should
you
not
should
be
not be
discouraged.
discouraged.
I
I
really
really
do
do
hope
hope
that
that
this
this
gets you
gets you
all
all
interested
interested
in
in
3D
3D
modeling,
modeling,
because
because
that is
that
the
is the
goal
goal of this
of
of
this
this
of
of
this
this
session.
session.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
beginning
beginning
our
our
keychain
keychain
project.
project.
First of
First of
all,
all,
we're
we're
going to
going to
start
start with
by
by
deleting
deleting
all
all
of
of
these.
these.
Now, so the
So the
first thing
first
we're
thing
going
we're
to
going
do
to do
is,
is
So
So
for
for
keychain,
keychain,
I'm
I'm
going to
going to
switch.
switch.
I'm going to
I'm gonna
switch
switch
over
over
to
to
the
the
3D
3D
printer if
printer
I
if I
can.
can.
I
I
just really
just
want to
want to
show you
show
the
you the
physical
physical
keychain
keychain
first of
first of
all
all before
before we
we
get
get
into
into any
before we
before
get
we get
into
into any
before we
before we
get
get
into
into any
design.
design.
So
So
the
the
first
first
thing that
thing that
we'll
we'll
do,
do,
I
I
do
do
want to
want to
show
show
you
you
guys
guys
some.
some.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
the
the
first thing that
first
we'll
thing I would
do
do
is
is
before we
before we
create
create
our
our
keychain,
keychain,
I'll be
I'll be
changing
changing
this
this
to the
to the
printer
printer
to the
to the
printer
printer
cam.
cam.
Okay. Okay, so
So
this
this
is
is
currently
currently
the
the
printer
printer
I
I
have
have
now.
now.
It's
It's
currently
currently
working.
working.
There's
There's
something
something
currently
currently
on the
on the
printer
printer
currently
currently
working.
working.
But
But
this
this
is
is
what
what
we're
we're
going
going
to be
to be
making.
making.
Something like
Something like
this.
this.
Okay, so
Okay,
we're
so
going
we're
to be
going to be
looking at
looking
this
at
with
this
a
with a
more
more
intricate
intricate
design.
design.
While the
While the
printer is
printer is
still
still
working,
working,
because
because
currently
currently
right
right
now
now
it's
it's
printing
printing
a
a
phone
phone
stand
stand
that
that
was
was
designed. If
designed.
I
If I
show
show
you
you
what
what
it's
it's
making,
making,
currently
currently
this is
this is
what the
what the
printer
printer
is
is
making.
making.
It's
It's
a
a
phone
phone
stand.
stand.
After
After
all of
all of
the
the
design is
design is
done,
done,
it's
it's
sent to
sent
the
to the
slicer.
slicer.
So if I
If I
turn it
turn it
back to
back
the
to the
printer
printer
cam,
cam,
you
you
can
can
see it
see
as
that
it's
it's
working.
working.
All right,
So
so we're
we're
going
going
to
to
go
go
back
back
to the
to the
main
main
course,
course.
and
And
now that
now
you've
that you've
seen
seen
the
the
keychain that
keychain
we're
that we're
going to
going
be
to be
making,
making,
we'll
we'll
proceed
proceed
with
with
we'll proceed with
proceed with
making the
making the
keychain.
keychain.
So
So the
first
first
things
things
first.
first.
The
The
first thing
first
that
thing
we
that we
need to
need to
do
do
is
is
add
add
a
a
rectangular
rectangular
cube
cube
first of
first of
all.
all.
So
So
the
the
basic
basic
shape,
shape,
and
and
then
then
so
so
let us
let us
add the
add the
basic
basic
shape
shape
first.
first.
So
So
when
when
this is
this is
added,
added,
it
it
will
will
make
make
this
this,
let's say
say,
120
120 in
in millimeters
millimeters
for the
for the
width.
width.
Let's try
Let's try
110
110
first.
first.
Okay,
Okay,
make this
make this
110
110
millimeters,
millimeters.
and
And
then
then
for the
for the
weight,
weight,
I believe
width
20
20
should
should
work.
work.
Make it
Make it
25,
5.
and then
And then
for the
for the
height,
heights,
I
I
don't
don't
I do
I
not
do not
want it
want it to
to we
we
don't
don't
want the
want the
keychain to
keychain to
be
be
too
too
thick.
thick.
So
So
let's
let's
say
say
maybe
maybe
5
5
mm
mm
or
or
maybe
maybe
4.
4.
So now if
If
we
we
put
put
our
our
ruler
ruler
just to
just to
confirm
confirm
all of the
all of the
dimensions,
dimensions,
25 for the length, 110
110
for
for
the
the
width,
width,
and a
a
4
4
millimeters
millimeters
height.
height.
This
This
should
should
work
work
perfectly.
perfectly.
So now the
Now the
next thing
next
that
thing
we're
that we're
going to
gonna
do is
do is
give
give
this a
this a
radius,
radius
because we
because we
don't
don't
want
want
a
a
sharp
sharp
edge,
edge,
because a
because a
sharp
sharp
edge,
edge
it's
is
very
very
easy to
easy to
get
get
injured
injured
with a
with a
sharp
sharp
edge. So
edge.
we
So we
want
want
to
to
have
have
all of
all
the
of the
edges
edges
rounded
rounded
off.
off.
So I
So I
can
can
make the
make the
radius a
radius a
2,
2,
and you
and
can
you can
see the
see the
change.
change.
If I
If I
wanted to
wanted to
make it
make
a
it a
bit
bit
straight,
straight,
I
I
can make
can
it a
make it a
1.
1.
But I
I
think
think
a 2
2
should
should
work
work
fine.
fine.
So
So
I'm
you
going to
can
select
select
that.
that.
So now
So
we
now we
can
can
observe
observe
all of
all
our
of our
dimensions
dimensions
and
and
make
make
sure
sure
that
that
everything
everything
is
is
accurate.
accurate.
So
So
now the
now the
next
next
thing that
thing that
we're,
we're
after
after
confirming the
confirming the
resize
resize
and
and
everything that
everything
you
that you
need to
need to
do,
do,
the next
the
thing
next
we're
thing we're
going to do
gonna
is
do is
add
add
a
a
text
text
to
to
customize
customize
this
this
keychain.
keychain.
So all I
So all
need
I
to
need to
do
do
is
is
drag
drag
this,
this,
apologies. So the
so the
first thing
first
we
thing we
do is
do is
drag
drag
this
this
and
and
place it
place it
on
on
our
our
keychain.
keychain.
And then
And
we'll change the
change the
text to
text to
say
say
something
something
like
like
3D
3D
Fab
Fab
Studio.
Studio.
So now as you
Now, as
can
you can
see,
see,
this
this
text
text
is too
is too
big
big
to
to
fit
fit
on
on
this.
this,
So
so
we're
we're
going to
gonna
have to
have to
change the
change the
size of
size of
this.
this.
So
So
all
all
you
you
need to
need
do
to do
is
is
have
have
this
this
draw
draw
reduce.
reduced.
You can reduce the
Reduce the
width as
width as
well.
well.
Alright, so now
So
there
there
is
is
something I
something
would
I would
like to
like to
show
show
you,
you,
an
an
error
error
that
that
I
I
encountered
encountered
when
when
printing
printing
the
the
first
first
keychain.
keychain.
I'll
I'll
switch to
switch to
the
the
printer
printer
cam
cam
now,
now,
just to
just to
show you
show
what
you
I
what I
just to
just
show
to
you
show
what
you
I
what I
mean.
mean.
So the
So the
first
first
problem
problem I
encountered
encountered
was the
was the
height
height
of the
of the
text.
text.
It was
It
too
was too
high
high
to
to
begin
begin
with.
with.
So we're
So
going
we're
to
gonna
reduce
do
this and
this and
make
make
this
this
maybe 4.
4.
Yes.
It's
So the
so the
first
first
keychain
keychain I
I printed,
printed,
this
this
was a
was a
bit
bit
too
too
high,
high,
and
and
it
it
did
did
not
not
look
look
very
very
impressive.
impressive.
It
It
felt
felt
more
more
like a
like a
name
name
tag
tag
rather
rather
than a
than a
keychain.
keychain.
So I
So I
don't
don't
want
want
this
this
to
to
come
come
up
up
too
too
high.
high.
I'll
I'll
put
put
this
this
in
in
and then
and then
observe
observe
the
the
bottom,
bottom,
because we
because
do
we
not
do not
want the
want the
text to
text to
come
come
from the
from the
bottom
bottom
as
as
well.
well.
So you
So you
have to
have
be
to be
mindful
mindful
when you're
when
in the
you're in the
design
design
phase.
phase.
And when
And
I
when I
say I don't
say I
want
don't
it to
want it to
come to the
come to the
bottom,
bottom,
this
this
is
is
what I
what I
mean.
mean.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Or
Or
even
even
something
something
like this.
like this.
Something
Something
like
like
this,
this,
it's
it's
not
not
good.
good.
Right, so
Right. So
this is
this is
good.
good.
This
This
should
should
work
work
perfectly.
perfectly.
If I
If I
wanted to
wanted to
reduce it
reduce it
even
even
more, I
more,
can
I can
say
say
2.5.
2.5.
And this
This
send it
send
a
a
bit
bit
lower.
lower.
Yes,
Yes,
this
this
is
is
much
much
better.
better.
Now just
Just
increase it
increase it
just in
just in
case.
case.
Now the
Now the
next
next
thing that
thing that
we'll
we'll
do is
do is
make
make
sure we
sure we
get the
get the
positioning
positioning
right.
right.
And now
Now
I
I
wanted
wanted
to
to
add
add
the
the
hole,
hole,
the
the
actual
actual
hole
hole
where the
where the
keychain is
keychain is
going to
going to
go.
go.
So now
Now
we
we
can
can
reduce the
reduce the
size of
size of
this
this.
because we do
We
not
do not
want it to
want it to
be
be
too
too
big.
big.
And when
And
we
when we
turn
turn
this
this
into a
into a
hole,
hole,
this
this
is
is
what
what
we
we
get.
get.
And
And
then
then
all
all
you
you
have
have
to
to
do
do
is
is
place
place
this
this
right
right
here.
here.
And
And
then
then
we
we
want it
want
to
it to
go
go
all
all
the
the
way
way
through,
through,
like
like
so.
so.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So now
So
the
now the
next thing
next
that
thing
I
that I
want to
want to
do
do
is
is
add
add
a
a
bit of
bit
a
of a
groove
groove
design
design
to the
to the
front
fronts
and the
and the
back.
back.
It
It
would
would
look
look
something
something
like
like
this.
this.
So
So
first of all,
first of
we
all, we
change
change
the length
lengths
as
as
well
well
as
as
we like to
like
change the
change the
color of
color of
this,
this. Just so I
just so I'm
just so
not
I'm not
confused.
confused.
That's why
You
you change the
change the
color in
color in
design
design
phase,
phase
so you
so you
don't get
don't get
confused
confused
if
if
all the
all the
parts
parts
have the
have the
same
same
color.
color.
So
So
I'll
I'll
take
take
this,
this,
and then
then
I will
I will
reduce
reduce
the height,
height,
also
also
reduce
reduce
all
what
I
I
want to
want
do
to do
is
is
pick
pick
this
this
and place it
place it
right
right
here.
here.
So
So
the
the
more
more
you
you do
this,
this, the more advanced
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
be.
be.
And then
Then
I want
want
all
all
of
of
these
these
to
to
go.
grow.
I'll
And
make
make
this a
this a
bit
bit
longer.
longer.
All of
All of
this is
this is
just
just
a
a
aesthetic
aesthetic
design.
design.
And
And
then
then
I
I
want
want
to
to
duplicate
duplicate
this.
this.
I want to duplicate
Duplicate
this
this
and
and
group
group
both of
both of
them
them
together,
together
so
so
that
that
when I
when I
move
move
one,
one,
I'm
I'm
also
also
moving
moving
the
the
other
other
one,
one,
like
like
so.
so.
So if
So
I
if I
extend
extend
the
the
length on
length in
this,
this,
the
the
other
other
one's
one's
length is
length is
also going
also
to
going to
extend as
extend as
well.
well.
So now all
Now
I
all I
need to
need to
do
do
is
is
send
send
this
this
down
down
and
and
give it a
give it a
hole.
hole.
So it's
So
going
it's
to
going to
make a
make a
little
little
wedge
wedge
right
right
here.
here.
So
So
when
when
all that
all
is
that is
done,
done,
all we
all
have
we
to
have
do
to do
now
now
is
is
group
group
all of
all
them
of them
together.
together.
And when
And
we
when we
do
do
that,
that,
you can
you
see
see
we
we
have
have
our
our
hole.
hole.
We
We
also
also
have our
have our
groove.
groove.
So when
So when
you
you
get to
get
the
to the
stage you
stage
are
you are
nearly
nearly
done,
done,
you can observe
observe
for any
for any
mistakes.
mistakes.
Good.
Good.
So now
So
the
now the
next thing we're
next thing we're
going to
going to
talk
talk
about
about
is
is
exporting
exporting
this
this
file
file
and
and
sending it to
sending
the
it to the
printer.
printer.
So the
So the
3D
3D
printer
printer
uses
uses
a
a
file
file
called
called
STL
STL
file.
file.
Someone was
Someone was
asking on the
asking on the
chat,
chats,
how
how
do
do
I
I
undo a
undo a
mistake?
mistake?
Okay, how
Okay,
do
how
I
do I
make
make
sure the
sure the
keychain is
keychain
the
is the
right
right
size
size
before
before
printing?
printing?
Well, if you
If
want
you
to
want to
confirm
confirm
the
the
size
size of
of the
the
keychain
keychain
before
before
printing,
printing,
there
there
isn't
isn't
really
really
any
any
universal
universal
size
size
for
for
keychain.
keychain.
All you
All
have
you
to
have to
do is
do is
determine
determine
the
the
size of the
size of the
keychain you
keychain you
actually
actually
want,
want,
and then
and then
give
give
it
it
the
the
size.
size.
So for
So for
me, I
me, I
wanted
wanted
a
a
keychain that
keychain that
was
was
110
110
mm
mm
long,
long,
110
110
mm
mm
wide,
wide,
as
as
well as,
well as
sorry, if
sorry,
I
if I
put up
put
the
up the
ruler
ruler
here
here
to make
to
it
make it
easy.
easy.
So I
So I
wanted a
wanted a
keychain that
keychain that
was
was
110
110
mm
mm
wide,
wide,
with
with
a
a
5
5
mm
mm
height,
height,
as
as
well as
well
a
as a
25
25
mm
mm
width.
width.
So
So
that's the
that's the
parameter that I
parameter that I
wanted to
wanted to
use.
use.
For
For
you, it
you,
can
it
be
can be
different. You
different.
can
You
want
can
a
want a
keychain that's
keychain that's
different,
different,
maybe a
maybe a
keychain that
keychain
is
that's
smaller,
smaller,
shorter, so
shorter, so
there's
there's
no
no
universal
universal
size.
size.
And to
And to
undo a
undo a
mistake,
mistake,
all you
all
have
you
to
have to
do is
do is
click
click
undo
undo
right
right
here.
here.
You can
You can
see
see
uh, the
the
tab
tab
right
right
here.
here.
If I
If I
undo,
undo,
and
and
redo.
redo.
If you
If you
hover your
hover your
mouse
mouse
over
over
any
any
item
item
in the
in the
interface, it
interface, it
usually
usually
tells
tells
you
you
the
the
function of
function
that
of that
item.
item.
So
So
undo,
undo,
it
it
tells you
tells
what
you
it
what it
does,
does,
and
and
this is
this
a
is a
delete,
delete.
this is
This
a
is a
duplicate,
duplicate,
and this
and
is
this is
copy,
copy,
just
just
like
like
that.
that.
All
All
right, so
right,
I
so I
hope I
hope
was
I was
able to
able to
answer your
answer your
questions. If
questions.
you
If you
have any
have any
more
more
questions,
questions,
please,
please
you
you
can
can
send it,
send it,
message me
message me
on
on
Zoom
Zoom
or
or
through
through
Gmail
Gmail
with the
with the
contact
contact
information, or
information, or
leave a
leave a
message
message
on
on
this
this
chat
chat
or
or
comment
comment
section.
session.
All
All
right,
right,
so
so
now we're
now
going
we're
to
going to
export
export
this
this
file
file
and
and
convert it
convert it
into an
into an
STL
STL
file. So
file.
the
So the
3D
3D
printer
printer
only
only
prints
prints
through
through
an
an
STL
STL
file.
file.
So it
So
does
it does
not
not
print
print
out
out
from any
from
other
any other
file. So
file.
you
So
have
you
to
have to
convert
convert
this to
this
an
to an
STL
STL
file,
file,
and you
and you
can
can
do
do
that
that
right
right
from
from
here.
here.
So
So
first of
first
all,
of
you
all,
want
you
to
want to
change the
change the
name of
name
this
of this
saved
saved
file.
file.
So
So
defaults,
defaults,
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
always
always
saves
saves
any
any
project,
project,
and
and
it
it
always
always
uses
uses
a
a
funny
funny
name or
name
a
or a
weird
weird
name, or
name, or
however you
however you
want to
want to
put it.
put it.
But
But
uh, but
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 you
you
can
can
change the
change the
name
name
by
by
doing
doing
this.
this.
All you
All
have
you
to
have
do
to
is
do is
click on
click on
this,
this,
and you
and
can
you can
change the
change the
name.
name.
So
So
I will
I will
make
make
this
this
3D
3D
fab
fab
keychain,
keychain.
and then I'll save
Save
this,
this,
and
and
then
then
I'll
I'll
hit
hit
export.
exports.
So
So
when you
when you
see
see
export,
export,
you want
you
to
want to
click
click
.stl
.stl
file.
file.
This is
This
the
is the
actual
actual
file that
file
we
that we
need.
need.
So when
So
I
when I
click
click
.stl
.stl
file,
file,
it
it
saves
saves
it,
it,
and
and
then
then
3D
3D
fab
fab
keychain,
keychain,
save.
saved.
So
So
all
all
I
I
need
need
to
to
do
do
now
now
is
is
open
open
this.
this.
It's going
It's
to
going
be
to be
open
open
with
with
Bamboo
Bamboo
Studio.
Studio.
So
So
now we're
now we're
going
going
into the
into the
actual
actual
3D
3D
printing
printing
software.
software.
So now
So
this
now
is
this
the
is the
actual
actual
software
software
itself.
itself.
Right
Right
here,
here,
it's
it's
called a
called a
slicing
slicing
software.
software.
And what is
And
a
what is a
slicing
slicing
software? A
software? A
slicing
slicing
or a
or a
slicer?
slicer?
A
A
slicer
slicer
converts
converts
3D
3D
models,
models,
which is
which is
this,
this,
into
into
printable
printable
layers.
layers.
So
So
which
which
means
means
currently
currently
right
right
now,
now
we
we
cannot
cannot
print
print
this
this
as it
as it
is
is
from
from
Tinkercad
Tinkercad
unless we
unless we
send it
send it
to a
to a
slicing
slicing
software.
software.
And the
And the
slicing
slicing
software
software
is
is
the
the
3D
3D
Fab,
Fab,
the
the
Bamboo
Bamboo
Lab
Lab
Studio.
Studio.
There are a
There
lot
are
of
a lot
other
of other
slicing
slicing
software out
software
there.
out
We
there. We
have
have
a Kuro
Euro
slicer,
slicer,
but
but
this is
this
the
is the
one
one
that's
that's
inbuilt with
inbuilt
the
with the
printer
printer
that
that
I'm
I'm
using.
using.
So
So
from here,
from here,
you can
you can
actually
actually
see
see
all
all
of
of
the
the
designs
designs
that we
that we
did, as
did, as
well as
well
the
as the
grooves
grooves
and
and
the
the
holes.
holes.
This
This
bed
bed
you're
you're
seeing
seeing
right
right
here,
here,
this
this
bed,
bed,
it
it
represents the
represents the
actual
actual
printed
printed
bed.
bed.
So
So
it
it
actually
actually
represents the
represents the
actual
actual
size
size
of the
of the
printed
printed
bed.
bed.
So if
So
I
if I
switch to the
switch to the
printer
printer
cam,
cam,
so
so
that's
that's
what this
what this
bed
bed
is.
is.
The
The
bed that
bed
you
that
can
you can
see
see
that
that
part
part
on,
on,
it's
it's
represented
represented
by by
by
that
that
part
part
right
right
there.
there.
It's the
It's the
actual
actual
size.
size.
So it
So it
lets you
lets you
get
get
an
an
idea
idea
of
of
how
how
big
big
this, how big or how small this is going to be on your printer. So when all of these, I'm going to leave most of these as defaults because it's usually set up to confirm for the best possible print. So most time you don't need to change a lot of this besides the speed. Even changing the speed might affect how your print looks because you don't want the printer to go too fast or too small. How long does a small print keychain usually take to print? A small print, don't worry, I'll show you. If I go to preview right now, you will be able to see the time it's going to take. So if I go into preview, model print time, 18 minutes. So it's going to take 18 minutes for this total to print. If you add the setup of the printer, it's going to be 24 minutes. That's how with this shows the layer of the printers. So if I take this down, you can see observe the material. That's what we mean by layer printing. So it's going to print the first layer and the second and the third, and just like that. So if I go to preview, I wanted to change the color of the name of the actual name itself, because I don't want it to be black because it's going to be overshadowed by the actual background. So what I'll do is I'll click on this and then I'll go into color painting. So I want to add another filament. So currently right now on my printer, I have 4 filaments installed. Black, green, purple, and gray. If I switch to the printer cam, you can actually see the 4 filaments right here. I have purple, green, black, and then gray right there. So you can see all of the filaments which I use. So for the name, I want to use. I'll be changing this to purple, and I want to make it filled by the height range. So when it says height range, it's going to pick the top one, the top one first, and then go all the way down. So observe. Just like that, just like that. I only work in mine, so I'll have this changed back. Just like that, we've changed the color of this. Makes it easier to see. This little block here, you will only see this when you are mixing multiple colors. This enables the printer to switch from black to purple seamlessly so that you don't have a bad print. So when I go into preview, you can see because we added another color, which is purple, the time increased from 18 minutes to 22. Because it's going to pick one filament, then drop the other, then pick another one, then drop the other, just like that. So when this is done, what I will do is click on print plate. I'll click on print plates. And then it tells you the gram of the weight or the size of the material I'm going to be using. Tells you the time it's going to take. It also tells you the filaments that I'll be using. Also tells you the filament that I'll be using. So currently, I would love to send this into the printer, but currently, as you can see earlier before, the printer is currently printing a phone stand, which I
I
showed
showed
you
you
earlier.
earlier.
That
That
should be
should be
done in
done in
about
about
10
10
minutes or
minutes or
so.
so.
So, but
So,
if
but
the
if the
printer
printer
was
was
not
not
busy,
busy,
this is
this
what
is
I
what
would
I would
do.
do.
I
I
would
would
send
send
the
the
job
job
right
right
here
here
to the
to the
printer
printer
and
and
have it
have it
printed.
printed.
And it will
And
be
it will be
done in
done in
28
28
minutes.
minutes.
I can
I
show
can
you the
show you the
printer
printer
cam
cam
it's
it's
currently
currently
working on
working
the on
on
the
the
on the
on the
phone
phone
stand.
stand.
When it's
When it's
done,
done,
this is
this is
what
what
it's
it's
going to
going to
look
look
like.
like.
It's
It's
going to
going to
look
look
something
something
like
like
this,
this,
where
where
your
your
phone
phone
goes
goes
in
in
and
and
stays on
stays on
top of
top of
this,
this,
and you
and
can
you can
keep your
keep your
AirPods
AirPods
here as
here as
well.
well.
Yes,
Yes,
you can
you can
add
add
pictures,
pictures,
logos,
logos,
anything that
anything
you
that
want
you
to
want to
do.
do.
As
As
long as
long
you
as you
can
can
think of
think of
it, you
it, you
can
can
most
most
definitely
definitely
add it.
add it.
If I
If I
wanted to,
wanted
I
to,
could
I
have
could have
added
added
my
my
name or
name
my
or my
logo at the
logo at the
bottom
bottom
here,
here,
just to
just to
make it
make it
more
more
customized,
customized.
and the
And the
3D
3D
printer
printer
will
will
actually
actually
print it.
print it.
So
So
anything that you
anything
want
that
to
you want to
do,
do,
if you
if
want
you
to
want to
make
make,
if you want to
if you
sell
want to
this,
sell this,
you can
you
add
can
your own
add your own
custom
custom
logo to
logo
it,
to it,
which
which
can give
can
it
give it
more
more
value
value
or
or
more
more
aesthetic.
aesthetic.
Well, we're
Well, we're
going into
going
the
into the
economic
economic
side
side
of
of
this,
this,
and I
and
don't
I
want
don't
to talk
want to talk
about the
about the
economics
economics
yet.
yet.
We'll
We'll
save
save
that
that
for
for
day
day
two,
two,
where we
where
can
we can
talk
talk
about
about
profits,
profits,
loss,
loss,
material
material
cost,
cost,
and
and
all of
all of
that.
that.
For
For
today,
today,
we'll be
we'll be
talking
talking
of
of
ending our
ending our
topic
topic
with the
with the
creation
creation
of the
of the
keychain.
keychain.
Um, I
I
really
really
do
do
hope
hope
that
that
everyone
everyone
was
was
able to
able to understand
properly
properly
how
how
all of
all of
these
this
work.
works.
I'll be
I'll be
going
going
back
back
into
into
our
our
teachings
teachings
today,
today.
and let's
Let's
continue
continue
talking
talking
about.
about.
All right, so
So
this is
this
what
is
we
what we
made
made
today.
today.
A
A
keychain.
keychain.
I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna
use
use
this
this
dimension,
dimension,
but
but
it would
it
have
would have
been
been
smaller. But
smaller.
I'm
But I'm
glad that
glad
we
that we
used
used
a
a
custom
custom
one.
one.
How Someone asked a
Asked a
question:
question:
how
how
thick
thick
should a
should a
keychain be
keychain be
so it
so it
doesn't
doesn't
break?
break?
How
How
thick a
thick a
keychain
keychain
should be
should be
so it
so it
doesn't
doesn't
break?
break?
I would
I would
say
say
somewhere
somewhere
between
between
4
4
and
and
5
5
mm.
mm.
Because if I
If I
turn
turn
back to
back
my
to my
printer
printer
cam,
cam,
I'm
I'm
gonna go
gonna
into
go
my
to my
printer
printer
cam and
cam and
show you
show you
one of
one of
the
the
ones that
ones
we
that we
already
already
made.
made.
You
You
see,
see,
this is
this is
one I
one I
already
already
made
made
with
with
3D
3D
Fab
Fab
Studio.
Studio.
You see,
You
this
see,
is
this
what
is what
5
5
mm
mm
looks
looks
like, and
like, and
it's
it's
actually
actually
very
very
sturdy
sturdy
and
and
very,
very,
very
very
thick.
thick.
This is
This
what
is what
5
5
mm
mm
looks
looks
like.
like.
And with
And
our
with our
holes
holes
right
right
there,
there,
as well
as
as
well as
the
the
wedges that
wedges
we
that we
put
put
in.
in.
So
So
every
every
detail,
detail,
any
any
and
and
all
all
detail
detail
that you
that you
put in a
put in a
3D
3D
printer is
printer is
going to
going to
come
come
out
out
as
as
long as the
long as the
printer is
printer is
printing
printed
properly.
properly.
So
So
next,
next,
I hope
I
that
hope that
answered
answered
your
your
question.
question.
So
So
next,
next,
we'll be
we'll be
looking
looking
at
at
various
various
simple
simple
functional
functional
products that
products
you
that you
can
can
make
make
with
with
this.
this.
I
I
already
already
showed you the
showed you the
phone
phone
stand,
stand,
the
the
cable
cable
organizer,
organizer,
the
the
headphone
headphone
holder,
holder,
as well
as
as
well as
the
the
controller
controller
stand.
stand.
If I
If I
turn
turn
into
into
the
the
printer
printer
cam, I
cam,
can
I can
show you
show you
this is
this is
a
a
cable
cable
organizer
organizer
that was
that was
printed.
printed.
All of
All
these
of these
parts were
parts were
printed and
printed and
assembled
assembled
with
with
this.
this.
So
So
your
your
cables
cables
go in
go in
here,
here,
and you
and
can
you can
hook it
hook it
into the
into the
table and
table and
screw
screw
it
it
in
in
tightly.
tightly.
Everything,
Everything,
including the
including the
screws,
screws,
were
were
3D
3D
printed.
printed.
That's how
That's how
precise it
precise it
is.
is.
So now
So now
let's talk
let's talk
about
about
our
our
common
common
beginner
beginner
mistakes.
mistakes.
So,
So
like the
like
way,
the
the
questions
questions that you
that you
ask,
ask,
how
how
thick
thick
should a
should a
keychain be
keychain
so
be
it
so it
doesn't
doesn't
break?
break?
You
You
have to
have to
really
really
understand
understand
your
your
measurements.
measurements.
Incorrect measurements will always lead to weak designs and will cause print failures. So you have to make sure that beforehand you have sketched and also designed properly what you are going to be making before you actually send it to a printer, so you don't waste materials. I also have another question. Says that can you insert other people's design you have to make things from scratch? Absolutely, yes, you can. Actually, Bamboo Labs. If I go into Bamboo Labs, you'll be able to see that I can actually check their online library and models. So here is where you can see things that other people have done, designed, and created that you can print. There are so many designs, so many things, so many useful designs. We have a headphone hook. We have a headphone holder as well. We have a table organizer. There's so many things that you can make. We have a book holder. It all depends on your imagination, basically. So there are so many people designing so many things, and it's not just in one platform. There are so many other platforms that you can get what you're looking for if you don't find it on Bamboo Labs. Okay, so common mistakes, as I was saying, incorrect measurements, poor alignment, structural failure can cause your print to fail. So you have to make sure that all of the dimensions are accurate and correct, which means that you don't just guess a dimension. You don't assume that this is supposed to be 5, or you give it an exact dimension so that you can get a more accurate print. Next. All right, so we'll be talking about from design to real object. So this is the workflow I was talking about. So remember, the first thing we did was Tinkercad. We designed it. We first of all designed, which is the first thing that you should do. Like you were saying, how do I make sure that my keychain doesn't break? You have to make sure that your design is correct. Then next, you export the STL file, which we already did and showed you how to do it. Your printer can only read STL files, so you should always export your files in STL. And then from the STL file, you send it into the slicer. The slicer, like we use the Bamboo Labs, which lets us turn a 3D model into a layer by layer printing. And then the final step, which is the 3D build. So now understanding layers by layers. When I say understanding layers by layers, simply means a printer builds an object one layer at a time. So it starts from the very base of the printer and builds upwards. I can switch to the printer cam just to give you an example. So you see that the printer started printing this from the base, and each time it finishes a layer, it goes up, controlling the x-axis, and that's just how it is. So it is pretty simple and straightforward. It doesn't just, it's not a magical thing that just makes something from scratch. You have to start from the bottom and go all the way to the top. And with that, we will be coming to an end for today's session. During day 2 preview, we're going to be looking at advanced modeling and assembly, where we actually print a building. We're going to design a building in sections. So we're going to make the wall, we're going to make the roof, we're going to make the base, and then eventually we're going to assemble it all together and send it to a printer. Before on this course, you will see that I have already printed the 3D keychain from this course, and I will present it to you when we
when we
begin the
begin the
first
first
course,
course,
the
the
next
next
course,
course, I mean,
for
for
day
day
two.
two.
So day
So
two
day
is
two
just
is
going to
just
be
going to be
all
all
about
about
advanced
advanced
modeling and
modeling and
assembly,
assembly,
modular
modular
house,
house,
snap
snap
fit
fit
design,
design,
and
and
multi-part
multi-part
structure
structure
assembly.
assembly.
So that's
So that's
basic. If
basic.
I
If
go
I
into
go into
Bamboo
Bamboo
Labs, I
Labs, I
should be
should
able
be
to
able to
show you
show you
what
what
I am
I am
talking
talking
about.
about.
When I
When I
say a
say a
modular
modular
building,
building,
something
something
like
like
this.
this.
Most
Most
buildings are
buildings
not
are not
just
just
built
built
from
from
scratch,
scratch,
You
You
have
have
to
to
build
build
it
it
and
and
actually
actually
observe.
observe.
So
So
something like
something like
this.
this.
It
It
consists of
consists of
various
various
parts
parts
that you
that
can
you can
use.
use.
So you
So
have
you
to
have to
design
design
each
each
section
section
accordingly,
accordingly
because
because
we're going
we're
to
going to
use
use
each of
each
those
of those
dimensions to
dimensions to
ensure that
ensure that
all the
all the
parts
parts
fit
fit
together
together
properly.
properly.
Because if
Because if
one
one
dimension is
dimension is
wrong,
wrong,
then the
then the
whole
whole
building
building
is
is
going to
going
be
to be
structurally
structurally
defective. It's
defective.
not
It's
going
not
to
going to
come
come
together
together
properly.
properly.
That's why
That's
we're
why
going to
we're
have
going to
to
have to
make sure
make sure
that
that
our
our
design
design
phase
phase
is
is
absolutely
absolutely
correct
correct
when we're
when we're
going
going
into
into
our
our
day
day
two
two
session.
session.
Um,
Um,
so
so
I
I
hope
hope
to
to
see you
see you
all
all
on the
on the
30th
30th
of
of
May.
May.
Uh,
Uh,
at the
at the
same
same
time,
time,
11
11
a.m.
a.m.
I do
I do
want you
want you
all to
all
be
to be
here,
here,
and
and
because the
because the
next
next
class we're
class
going
we're
to be
going to be
using
using
Autodesk
Autodesk
Inventor,
Inventor,
which is a
which is a
more
more
advanced
advanced
software.
software.
With
With
Tinkercad, it
Tinkercad,
was
it
a
was a
bit
bit
easy to
easy to
use, but
use, but
with
with
Inventor, I'm
Inventor,
going to
I'm
have
going to
to
have to
spend more
spend more
time with
time with
explanations.
explanations.
Um, so
So
you
you
will
will
learn in the
learn in the
next
next
session. You
session,
will
you will
learn.
learn
You will
you will
begin the
begin the
house
house
model,
model,
creating a
creating a
house
house
without
without
screws
screws
or
or
glues,
glues,
and
and
you'll
you will
begin to
begin to
think
think
more
more
like a
like a
designer
designer
and a
and a
fabricator.
fabricator.
So
So
with
with
that, we'll
that,
be
we'll be
coming to an
coming to
end
an
with
end
the
with the
class,
class.
and I
I
just want to
just want to
appreciate
appreciate
everyone
everyone
for
for
the
the
attendance,
attendance,
and I
and I
will
will
see
see
you
you
on
on
the
the
30th
on
of
the
May,
30th of May,
2026.
2026.